ABC Sport.
On ABC Sport, this is the AFL.
Room to steady and finish.
It's close to the goal line and Marty got there. Another one.
Sit back, relax, witness the greatest. It don't get better than this.
Rampy from 55 can ride it all the way home. Huge fend off and kicks the goal. The skipper off a step finishes.
Take a seat, 'cause it don't get better than this.
Right foot strike. He's got it. Oh, the home fans like that. Takes a bounce, unguarded, goal square. He's got it. Reed's going to go for goal. Oh my goodness, that truly is remarkable.
This is the 2025 AFL Premiership season on ABC Sport.
Take a seat, 'cause it don't get better than this.
On radio, on digital, and on the ABC Listen app.
Yeah, take a seat, 'cause it don't get better than this.
For 19 seasons, the kid from Torquay, Travis Boak, has displayed professionalism, leadership and loyalty on his way to a record-breaking 393 games. And this afternoon, his commitment will need to be emulated if Port Adelaide are any hope of dodging another Richmond upset. The Tiger Cubs' comeback victory over the Blues shocked the football world, as did the Powers' surprisingly stunted start against the Pies, and it set the stage for an enthralling collision at Adelaide Oval as Richmond looked to set off the powder keg brewing at Alberton. Great to have your company for the middle game of our Saturday fixture on ABC Sport. Aaron Bryans to call the action for you. And alongside me this afternoon, we've got a debutant in the ABC Sport box, South Australia's favourite son. Great to welcome him, Mark Soderstrom, to the team for 2025. Good to see you, Soda.
Aaron, thank you so much for having me, mate. What a wonderful day. And we have a look at this. And isn't the scene set? I think you said just waiting for the powder keg to go at Alberton. Well, I can tell everyone outside of South Australia that for this whole week, everyone has just been looking at Josh Carr and Ken Hinkley, and until Port gets some sort of decent performance, that is not going to stop in this town. And I'm excited, Aaron, because Dean Brogan, 2004 Premiership player, is with us today in the team, and he's fuming. There's smoke coming out of the ears from last Saturday.
He may or may not have said on SA Grandstand this morning that Port Adelaide could be a bottom four side. He's already thrown the baby out of the bathwater. Brogues, good to see you.
Good to be here. Wonderful to be here again for another big season. Look, Port Adelaide were horrible last week. We all know that. It's round one. We've all overreacted potentially. Big day for the footy club. They have some work to do, and they might have a live kill in Richmond here today, and they need to win and win well. But Richmond, as we saw last week against Carlton, huge effort and got the win. So they won't be easy. They'll bring energy and effort. If Port rock up like they did last week, it'll be a long day.
Got another Premiership superstar in the box as well. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Ebony Marinoff, good to see you again.
Yeah, another week back in the box, and yeah, a really disappointing effort for Port. Brogues, you talk about the energy, intent and effort that Richmond had. You'd like to see Port Power come out with that today. It was a sensational game last week. You obviously heard the momentum about Erdem Uze and having that aura, and you could just sense that the players really rose to that occasion, an epic game. And they're going to take all that momentum against a really flat Port Adelaide. And Port Adelaide are going to come out hard because they have, with all the scrutiny through the week. Travis Boak talking during the week, saying it's quite personal to the players, so I'm sure they'll want to put on a show for Kenny today.
Tigers only getting younger today as well, so they've got another debutant, their fourth of the season. We get to see Liam Fawcett, who's a South Australian boy out of Central Districts. He had 3 goals in the VFL trial game last week. Would have played last season but had glandular fever throughout the year, a back injury as well, and we get to see some tall timber up front for the Tigers with Tom Lynch out through suspension. No late changes either, so Caleb Smith is the sub for the Tigers. And a new face for Port Adelaide, Christian Moraes, who's their pick 38 out of the Eastern Ranges, a very prolific winger out of Knox. Was a Vic Metro Championship player as well, so he'll start as the sub, but plenty of tank to run through come the latter stages of this game. The fifth member of our commentary team downstairs to round out the crew is Josh Money. Good to see you, Josh.
Good to be here. Good to be part of the team once again. Aaron, what a beautiful day it is for football. 25 degrees, a slight northerly breeze, but just about perfect conditions. The ground, not a bad crowd, probably 2/3 full, and they've all been given Port Adelaide scarves and flags, so it really is a sea of black and teal, and certainly a bit of a nervous air of expectation heading into this one. Let's have a look at the benches. Logan Evans, Willem Drew, Jackson Mead and Darcy Byrne-Jones starting there for Port. Christian Moraes on debut, got his Guernsey presented to him by Brett Ebert, which is a nice touch on a big day for the Ebert family. Of course, his late dad Russell's game record being passed today. Tom Brown, Thompson Dow, Jack Ross and Liam Fawcett on debut for the Tigers. Caleb Smith is their son.
It's the power on the Tigers for Saturday footy on ABC Sport. Mark Soderstrom to get us underway.
Well, Toby Nankervis coming off a ripping match last week against Carlton in round one. He's going head-to-head with Jordan Sweet, who late last season became the number one man in terms of the ruck for Port Adelaide. They essentially cancel each other out at the opening bounce. Hopper just hovering over it, gets a handball, shoots it forward. Plenty of pressure. McIntosh in the centre of the ground with a yellow headband today as opposed to the black one in round one. Hurried kick forward for the Tigers, runs out of bounds.
Interesting, Willie Rioli starts at centre bounce, maybe playing a bit more midfield, bit of energy, bit of speed, get him into the game. I like it.
Text line if you want to get in touch today, 0437 774 774. Tossed in Richmond's 50. Nankervis wins it down, was chasing Hopper. A little bit of holding there from Wines, gets away with it, and Sin gets the clearing kick. Out towards left half back for the power. Players busting bodies. Richards in there, Berry with a good tackle. He wraps up Jaden Short. Right half forward for the Tigers and we'll get a ball up. No score so far in the opening minute.
Okosha's coming off. Looks like he's called for an interchange and he's hobbling off. He might be injured. Look forward to hearing what's wrong with him down there.
Free kick plucked out to the Tigers skipper, Nankervis. Kicked a couple last week, top of the square. Kick into a good position. Alira is there and Travis Boak just escorts it out in the back pocket. You said those 393 games, Aaron, you touched on. 373 in terms of AFL games, 20 of the pre-season games. And the great Russell Ebert, the only man to win 4 Magarey medals, 392 games for Port Adelaide.
They refer to him as God at Alberton. I reckon Travis Boak's his right hand. Out of the ruck contest, Lockie Jones wrapped up in a tackle. Nankervis spun in the full 360 and wins the free kick.
Nankervis coming off a fine game with 2 goals last week, really set the tone for Richmond last weekend.
Too high, so Jones gives it off to Rioli, now to the right back pocket to Burton, who was the sub last week. Now gets a full game under his belt after some groin issues in the pre-season. Combined with Bergman, and they'll switch back to the broadcast wing. Wheeling is Sin, looks to drive it up through the logo, close to the benches to Georgiades. Clean, uncontested mark, he'll chip it over the top to Burn-Jones. They're flooding forward. Tight on the boundary line, he wheels in, spears it in the leading option and lace out to Powell Pepper, who takes it 40 from home. 45-degree angle to the left.
Well, it was brilliant ball movement, Port Adelaide. Shifting the ball, switching.
Powell Pepper hands it off to Farrell. Casual jog into the 50, zero pressure, and he misses to the left. Opening score comes in the 3rd minute. And it's a behind to Port Adelaide. Josh Money downstairs.
Just the absolute last thing Port Adelaide would want their $1 million man, Jack Lukosius, 10 seconds into this one, limping off. It looks to be a problem with his right knee, so I'll keep you posted.
Josh Money down on the boundary. Dean Brogan, 04 premiership player with Port, and Ebony Marinoff, triple premiership star with the Crows, all joining us here. And that is a beautiful set of hands by Bergman. We've seen him have to play tall in defence during summer with all the injuries. He pumps the ball back in. Fly was Horn Francis from behind. Couldn't get his hands onto it. Miller slaps it out with the left hand, looking for the boundary line, the safety. And he finds it. Miller, solid last week against Carlton, doing some very nice one-on-one work.
So Port by a point. 3 minutes in here at the Adelaide Oval. Saturday footy on ABC Sport. Attacking 50 for the home side. And Curvis wins it down against Sweet. Ball paddles off a couple of shins. Powell Pepper's there to gather at left half forward. Hands it to Rosie, kicking to the northern end. He hooks it around the body errantly. And waiting in the hole is Blight. Switch it across defensive 50 for the Tigers. Hits up Miller. And now Banks, the Tasmanian. Gives it across to Short. Through the eastern side. Tended target. Trying to get it in the direction of Mansell, but all over him. Good stop from Burton, who just collapsed on the ball drop in front of the Odie stand, and we'll get a boundary throw in.
Beautiful day, Adelaide Oval. Just a little overcast. Deck looking fantastic. Good enough AFL footy, not good enough for Shield cricket in a final this week.
Well, that's 50.
And free kick has been plucked out. It is going to go Port's way, and a 50-metre penalty from right on the centre square, so that is going to take them about 10 metres out.
not sure who the player was, but look, it was based off a great tackle from Ollie Wines, I think it was, holding the ball. It might have been short, I think, played on. And look, that's what we questioned about Port Adelaide, is their tackling. They need to get their tackling numbers up. Really good start by Ollie Wines, setting the tone around the clearances.
Well, Big Ollie might be called on to do a little bit of ruck work today, because they have gone in pretty skinny with height, but from 15 out, dead in front, the Brownlow medalist punches it through for Port Adelaide, 1-1-7. They lead the Tigers, yet to score here at the Adelaide Oval. Saturday footy on ABC Sport.
That's exactly what you want from a player like Ollie Wines, just setting the tone. A little bit unfortunate from short, but you just can't kick that ball away. It's quite loud here today, so you're going to have to be listening to the umpires, but great intent from Ollie Wines. That's the pressure that Kenny Hinkley would be after from his team.
Port with a quick response after last week's 91-point loss. Now Richmond look for an answer. Camden McIntosh in the middle this afternoon after tagging Patrick Cripps. Soda mentioned he's got the yellow headband after the black last week. It's certainly a jarring image. He'll be standing alongside Willem Drew, the two taggers, as we get things back underway. Port Adelaide by 7 in the opening stages. Sweet rises above Nankervis, won it down. Richmond's skipper tries to do his crumb work. Caught in the tackle, dropped the footy. Free kick going the Tigers' way. Sort of controlled the pill enough. Hands it across to Hopper. Off a step, he launches it towards the 50. Couple of flyers. Mansell got a fist in. Mead cutting across for the power. Knocked it to McIntosh. Bowled over by Farrell. Big collision just close to the arc. We'll get a ball up. Richmond's 50 at the moment, down 7.
Ebony Marinoff mentioned before, Nankervis was terrific last week, picked up 9 coaches votes. He's already started well again today. Tap down, little hurry kick from Hopper, wasn't effective. Just bumbles around at half back for Port Adelaide. Jones takes it out of the defensive 50, gives it to Mead. Handball's back to the skipper, who just waits and then sends it back 15 metres to Farrell. Pulls the trigger on that beautiful left foot. Traverses across the Adelaide Oval. Bergman rather, long kick to half forward. But that was terrific body work by Broad, and he's able to take the mark at half back.
On the 45 to Dow, the defensive edge of the square. He will use Nankervis and shoots the handball off to Lawler. Kick out wide. Put down back with the flight by Miller. Had enough time to compose himself, but then rushed the kick down the line. Nearly cut off by Logan Evans. Bounce over the boundary line. Right half forward for the Tigers. Down 7 early. Josh Money downstairs.
Increasing concern for Port Adelaide. Jack Lukosius now down to the rooms with that right knee injury that he sustained in the first 10 seconds of his home power debut.
Sub today, Christian Moraes, the debutant for Port Adelaide, a winger, not a forward. Tossed in, Sweet down. In the path of Hopper for Richmond. Drew slides in with the tackle. Hopper wins out. Overhead handball to Dow. Clean in traffic to McIntosh. Looping handball. Sold Trezise into a lot of trouble. Miller trying to fight for it, but Port have the numbers. Rosie gets it out wide. Georgiades inbound, and here's Barry. Goes for a run in the centre square. Darts back across to the broadcast wing. Spots a target that he likes, and it's the record-breaking Boak. Strong in the one-on-one to clock the mark. 45 out. It's a tight angle. He wants to share it. Chips it just the required 15 to Georgiades. And he's forced to go back to Boak, who wasn't on his line. He'll hand it off instead to Evans. Evans surging by. Pulls the trigger from 50. And Travis Boak, as he's done in 393 games. The assist maker, the playmaker, the distributor, and Logan Evans riding through has his 3rd goal in his young career. Port Adelaide up 2-1-13. Richmond yet to score. 8 played opening terms. Saturday footy on ABC Sport. Your experts, Dean Brogan and Ebony Marinoff.
Well, Port's energy levels are where they need to be, and Richmond's aren't somewhat. That's twice now they've let someone, Port player, run past off the mark, and Boat takes the mark, handballs it to Evans, who no one was anywhere near him. So Richmond really need to switch on with that. Farrell had one before, but Porter up and about. Metres gained, they're 200 metres more with metres gained with the football than Richmond, so you can tell their intent's up.
Their intent to also shift the ball offline there, and Berry just swings it back in. It catches Richmond defence offline.
Well, Travis Boak, 19 years of experience, knew that he didn't need to stretch the hammies for the 50. Logan Evans did the work as it's up in the ruck again, comes down to Rosie, to Boak. Fires a handball into the centre to Jordan Sweet. He farms one out to the wing, looking for Mead. Didn't get the support. McIntosh was involved and finally through Campbell and Coe. They were able to get the ball out to centre wing, but Lockie Jones for Port Adelaide takes a strong mark, right half back.
Looks to the corridor and Port have numbers waiting. Rosie with the uncontested mark, releases Mead, darts it up to Rioli, who copped a big push well after he'd marked it. Ill discipline from Ben Miller, and Rioli gets right into him as well about it. 50 metres into the attacking arc for the Power.
That's on the last two occasions Port Adelaide been trying to rip it through the corridor. Just that fast ball movement, energising the ball, catches the defence offline. Miller was impressive last week. He'll be disappointed with that one.
Out on the mark will be 15 out. Will Rioli, one of the few goal scorers against the Pies last week with a set shot straight in front. Rioli on the approach, shanked it low and hard, but it goes through the middle. Port have the opening 3 goals at the Adelaide Oval. 3-1-19, Richmond yet to score. 10 played, Saturday footy on ABC Sport. Josh Money downstairs.
Yeah, it's now Richmond with their own injury concern. Ryan Mansell has gone down to the ropes. Not sure what he's dealing with yet, but I'll keep you updated.
Well, Lockie Jones, some question marks over his performance last week. A couple of drop marks and looked like during the headlights last week. Has started brilliantly today. A couple of intercept marks, and you know that goal there from Port Adelaide was him marking the ball at half back and getting on with the play really quick. But like you said, Emily, they're just queuing up at the moment, Port Adelaide, with ball in hand, and Richmond are defensively completely off.
Well, Port Adelaide just managed the 3 goals in the first quarter last week against Collingwood. They only got 3 more for the rest of the game. They've got 3 to get things going in the opening 10 minutes here. They lead by 19 points. The Tigers yet to score. McIntosh, centre of the ground, as defensively Richmond just trying to hold up. Trainer, who we saw on debut last week, getting involved. The kick, though, is cut off by Logan Evans. And this youngster really made a statement in the second half of the season last year. Mead's got power pepper, pushes off, goes long against Campbell, top of the square, but there's no one home for Port Adelaide and cut off by Broad.
Waits the kick well, close to the boundary line. Just enough on it to get to Brown. Tighten the right back pocket. Richmond kicking to the right-hand side of your radio dial. Although yet to convert a score. Brown sends it towards the broadcast wing. Throw a blanket over him on the drop. Hand came in from Bergman, knocked down towards Sin, hacks it out of there. Broad's waiting. Game 150 for the boy from Woburn. Premiership star with the Tigers. Heads across defensive 50. Miller gets it towards Blight. Tumbler in the direction of McIntosh. Courageous as he ran into the direction and path of Burgoyne. And the latter one out for the Power. Hands it to Burn-Jones. Drills it into the scoreboard pocket, and Georgiades presents. Takes the mark on a tight angle. 30 from home.
Well, Richmond just can't get it out of their defensive half. Port are really pressuring up the ground, and it's a forward half turnover game at the moment for Port Adelaide.
Lap of honour earlier for Trent McKenzie, Tom Cleary and Charlie Dixon, the man that Mitch Georgiades is looking to emulate as the new tall timber talisman. He'll start right on the fence. Mitch Georgiades looking for his first goal of the campaign off a career best season. Couple of steps, tries to thread the needle, starting left and hooking enough that it's through for a minor score. Port Adelaide up by 20. Richmond yet to score. 13 played opening term. Saturday footy on ABC Sport.
Tigers coming out of defence, long clearing kick to half back, and the target there not able to take the grab was Bauer. Comes over there to Richards, playing for Port now, the former Pies Berry rather. He shoots one over the top. Quick little kick forward comes from Dow. Here's an opportunity finally, and a little dribbling kick is a good one. The Tigers are on the board, and Seth Campbell, the man who was flipping out last week, dribbles one through, and Richmond get there first. They are 1 straight 6. Port Adelaide 3-2-20. First quarter, Saturday footy on ABC Sport.
Just right, Sodas. I thought maybe we might get another backflip. That's the first forward half turnover for Richmond today. Just their ability to catch Farrell off. He just was fumbling the ball, really put his teammate under pressure. just his ability to keep his feet there as well. Logan Evans goes down and Campbell finishes a snazzy goal as well, but no backflip today.
Busy quarter for Josh Money downstairs. What's happening?
Well, good signs for Jack Lukosius, who's finally returned from the rooms with his right knee strapped. Looks like he's had some sort of painkillers, done some run-throughs and a bit of kicking, so he certainly looks as though he's going to give it a try. Christian Moraes on the backbench still, so that's positive for Port and Jack Lukosius.
Port Adelaide by 14, opening term. Saturday footy on ABC Sport. Beautiful bounce in the middle. Blight doing the ruck work. Bauer rather doing the ruck work for Richmond. Knocked it down. Wines tried to crumb. Ripped away by Horn Francis. Got it to Drew, then Rosie. Back to Wines. Prolific trio. And it ends in the arms of Georgiades. Surging out of the goal square. Takes it in front. Slide angle to the right. 35 from home.
Well, the young midfielders of Richmond was like bees to a honeypot around the contest, and Port just held their width. The handball came out from Drew, and Ollie Wines was a perfect kick to Mitch Georgiades. As a forward, that's exactly where you want him.
Also the experience, with Rosie, Drew, all them playing together. They just flick that handball out. There's always seems to be one around the contest today.
Long, methodical approach from Mitch Georgiades. Starts in the centre square, crosses the paint of 50, drives it straight and true. Mitch Georgiades has his first of the campaign. Port Adelaide have their fourth of the afternoon. 4-2-26, Richmond 1 straight 6. Approaching time on in the opening term. Saturday footy on ABC Sport. On the text line, Stuart says, don't get too excited, Power fans. Richmond gave Carlton a 41-point head start and ran them down. So there's still plenty to play, I know, Stuart. But it is a good start for a side that had a poor display in round 1, Brogues.
Yeah, they started really well. Just looking at all the KPIs, and they're plus 14 in possession, plus 10 in marks, plus 12 in uncontested possession, plus 4 in contested possession. So all your KPIs that you want to be winning, Port are really starting to get ahead there.
Dean Brogan, Ebony Marinoff, your experts. Let's quickly head down boundary side. Josh Money.
So Lukosius back on.
That's good news. Off with a little knee concern early in the game. Horn Francis just paddles the ball out of the centre bounce to the true centre-half back position, and we'll have a reset here. So that goal from Seth Campbell was a long time coming. 15 minutes. Georgiades responded within a minute, so Port restore that lead back out to a very, very handy 20 points. Out of wing. Rosie, the skipper, under pressure. Tried to work his way through a couple of Tigers, and he's been pinged. So the free kick will go to Campbell. Out of wing here, Adelaide Oval.
Richmond's only goal scorer so far. Points long and bangs it in that direction. Up towards the 50. Bauer on the charge. Edged underneath the drop. Evans there with a handball over his head to Aaliyah. Kick ricocheted off the back of a couple of players. Bauer trying to tackle Burgoyne. Footy shoots out. Campbell gets another crack for Richmond. Just enough for the 15, but only into the hands of Horn Francis. Sitting at half back at the moment for the Power. The Hornet had to deal with Perryman last week. Now it's across defensive 50 to Burton and Aaliyah. Left half back for the Power. Currently leading by 20. Aaliyah threads it up towards the benches to Sin. Game 13 for him this afternoon. Starting to solidify his spot in the 22. He'll head back towards Aaliyah at the defensive edge.
The All-Australian former Swan. He sends it around again. Burton, so they're just working it slowly. Logan Evans, he's had a good start to the game. Goes forward. And the mark not taken. Up to half forward. They've actually presented quite well, Brogues, just coming through. Good ball use off half back.
Yeah, quite clearly, to us here that, watching them on TV, that they are moving, have an intent to switch and use the width of the ground. Like you said, Sodas, it gives their forwards an opportunity to lead up at the kicker when that ball is switched.
Port by 20 and at right half forward at the moment. Tossed in. Wines got it out of the stoppage to Sweet. Then Burton from 50 heads for home. It's across the face. Another minor score. 4-3-27. Richmond 1 straight 6. 19 played. Josh Money downstairs.
Aaron Ryan Mansell, the Tigers forward, has returned from the rooms with his right shoulder strap. Looks like he's going to be okay to play on.
Well, good news for the Tigers, along with Port, obviously, with the Lukosius news moments earlier as well. Mead with a tackle just tries to bring down Steely Green, and we'll have a reset. Mansell, of course, had some great success on this ground playing for Woodville West Torrens, winning a Sandful premiership a number of years ago, and Tasmania's been terrific since he's crossed over to the Tigers. Rosie just pops the ball up forward into no man's land, into the pocket. Blight happy to have scored it out, and we'll have the ball thrown in just a couple of metres around Port Adelaide's goal, going to the northern or cathedral end.
Rosie getting busy, up to 8 disposals, 4 clearances, 4 contested possessions, leading the way, the skipper.
And 35 last week as well. Tossed in, Sweet down, was targeting Hon Francis, 4 to beat in traffic. Richmond went out. Banks ripped it away. He dropped the footy. And a tackle laid on Tresice. Ball up to come. 15 from home at the moment. Port Adelaide's 50 at the northern end. Sweet and Nankervis battle. Sweet tried to paddle it straight to Powell-Pepper surging by. It was cut off by Banks and his coat hanging for his trouble. Free kick Richmond. Currently down 21 points. Time on in the first. Still to come today. We've got St Kilda and Geelong at the Docklands. We'll take you there after this game. Down the line go the Tigers. Front position, forced it on debut, brought it down. And there was Green, came through. Tunnelling ball for Richmond, cut off by Farrell, racing across the benches, panicked, handball straight across to Steely Green. Hooks it inboard.
What a great kick by Steele Green.
Vision was excellent, found its way to Ross. He's fresh off a career high as well against the Blues. Gets it inboard to Traynor. Searching kick into the 50, a little too long. Armstrong was waiting at the back. Evans knocked it down. Buffeted off the ball was Mead though. Campbell gets it to Armstrong. Harry looks for his first. It's curling. Had so much height it nearly went over the top of the goalpost, and the umpire says it'll be a behind to the right-hand side. Richmond 1-1-7, Port 4-3-27. Still 7 minutes to play. Josh Money downstairs.
Aaron Lukosius gave it a go. It lasted all of 1 minute. He ran off with a wry smile on his face, shake of the head, so it looks as though his day is done. Christian Moraes on debut, warming up now.
Well, the 18-year-old from Knox in eastern Melbourne, ready to go. Bad news for Lukosius, though. Kick comes up. Georgiades gives it to Boki. He's 60 out. He goes up towards the square. Rioli's in a good position. Just tries to get the body right, but that is terrific work defensively by Traynor. The ball is still alive in defence for Richmond. They're going hard. Burn-Jones to Willem Drew, and his kick just bounces the wrong side of the goalpost, through for a behind. So Richmond defensively held up quite well. Plenty of pressure there. Port Adelaide 4-3-27, Richmond 1-1-7, 21 points up, 22 gone in the first here.
Richmond trying to move it to the eastern side, but Broad chipped his kick straight to Burgoyne. Here comes the counter punch. Burn-Jones flares it inboard to Richards, plays on. Joe Richards hits the post. Was all alone, had more time than he realised, and still yet to score his first goal in teal. Port Adelaide 4-5-29, they lead Richmond 1-1-7. Dean Brogan, Ebony Marinoff, your experts.
Oh, Richmond are looking for quarter time. They are hanging on by a thread here. Port Adelaide should be up by a lot more with some inaccurate kicking, but Richmond just looking for quarter time here.
Port Adelaide leading the clearances 10-6. Connor Rosie, the skipper's had 4 of those, so continuing his good form from last week. Ross, who was also good last week for Richmond, gets it. Taranto, they combine the ball. Forced up the half forward. Alir couldn't take it, going back with the flight nicely was Armstrong. Here's a chance now for the Tigers. Mansell, just a little bit of a grubber on the left foot. Armstrong swung in a tackle, sends the handball out to Alir, and he finds the safety of the behinds. And Richmond just starting to get some decent sort of movement through the field, and they sneak a little closer. They're within 21 points, 1-2-8. Port Adelaide 4-5, 29-23 gone first quarter here, Adelaide Oval. Saturday footy on ABC Sport.
Farrell pops it short. Bergman decides to drive it long. Georgiades his target. Late came Sweet, knocked to ground, and Georgiades kept his feeding. Just surged out of trouble, but kept running and running until he was eventually mowed down. Good desperation from Hopper. The ball shot towards Boat. Hopper's still ginger in the middle. Meanwhile, Sweet spins out of trouble with Ross. Hands it across to Evans. Dinky kick forward. Mark taken close to the arc by Boak. He's looked lively on his record-breaking day. Sends it to the top of the goal square. Hon Francis with 3 bites. Couldn't reel it in. Vostone wrapped up in the tackle from Drew. Ball up to come. 20 out from home, straight in front for the Power. They lead by 21.
Oh, that was super impressive by Travis Boak. 2 impacts at each contest there. He's had the 6 disposal, but he's running at 100% disposal efficiency, so experience is telling today.
Hurried kick from defence by the Tigers, just clearing that 50. There's Lawler. He was good last week with his couple of goals. Just goes with a little Dusty Martin fend-off as well. So the Tigers, centre wing Green, under enormous pressure from Bergman, gives it to Logan Evans, and he's knocked down as he kicks, so the ball will be sent downfield. Quick handball fired out here for Sin. Lowers the eyes, just had a little too much on it. Couldn't deliver it into 50 nicely. Richmond defence. Sin just can't lay the tackle. Bounced off beautifully was Brown. They're still alive in defence, so 40 out for Port Adelaide. Drew hard onto it. Richmond through Taranto. Gives up the ball. Kick around the corner. Can't get through was Burgoyne, so Richmond still holding up. It's become a real scramble, and the umpire finally is going to blow the whistle. They've done well, the Tigers, there to get a reset. 40 out from the Port Adelaide goal, northern end.
Power by 21, closing in on quarter time. Sweet down, only found Vostone. Tried to launch it out of there, kicked it straight into Rioli. Ricochets up and down. Bouncing ball, Berry speared out of trouble by Mansell. Ball shot towards Drew. Rosie retreats. Evans caught in a Lawler tackle. Brought to ground in the corridor. Will get a ball up. Last week's rising star. Pick one in the draft, Sam Lawler, starting forward again today. Sweet down, hit Drew. Back towards Farrell. Again, Mansell just launches into a diving tackle. Impacted the kick up towards right half forward. On the bounce, though, Burne-Jones, a bit of fancy footwork into the pocket. Head long enough to Rioli, who can turn and smash it through from the behind line. Nathan Broad committed. Didn't quite get the angle. And Willie Rioli has 2 for the afternoon. Port Adelaide up by 27. 5-5-35. Richmond 1-2-8. 26 played in the opening term. Saturday footy on ABC Sport. Aaron Bryans, Mark Soderstrom, Dean Brogan and Ebony Marinoff with you.
I've been really impressed with Port Adelaide. They've been able to change and use the lanes and the width of the oval today. They look like they're playing much more exciting footy, and it's really hard to defend. Looks like Broad's semi-playing a spare behind the ball, but you can't be doing that when you've got nothing ahead of the football. And Willie Rioli, we talked about at the start of the game, starting the centre bounce. Maybe that's what you need to do for the big guns.
Yeah, look, it's a great call. They're shifting the ball off the line really well, Port, and their forward half game is in good order today. 16 inside 50s to 7. Richmond are defending for their life at the moment.
Port Adelaide 5-5-35. Same score they were at three-quarter time last week against Collingwood. Richmond 1-2-8. 27 points. Ball just bobbing around the middle of the ground from the reset. McIntosh goes off the deck. Burgoyne fires a handball. McIntosh again, and he's taken down by Jason Horne-Francis just on the outer wing.
Beautiful sunny day in Adelaide. Tossed up close to the logo. Nankervis down looking for Hopper. Tried to get it back to his skipper, but it's picked off. Burgoyne tumbles one for the power up to right half forward. Rioli paddled it down to the path of Burne-Jones. Gets it to Richards. Step through a tackle. Hands it to Boak. Back to Richards. Darts away from short. Got underneath the footy. A high wobbler. Getting back. Blight with the fist. Knocked it straight back to Joe. Richards hands it across to Boak. And he swings it towards Berry. Desperate from Blight. He got back with the fist. Knocks it all the way to the defensive arc. And he keeps running all the way into Sweet, but ran out of gas. The ruckman sidesteps him. Winds to Burgoyne from 45. Heads home and strikes. The son of a gun, Jace Burgoyne, piles on the pain for Richmond. Port's up by 33 heading into quarter time. 6-5-41 plays 1-2-8. Saturday footy on ABC Sport. Dean Brogan, Ebony Marinoff, your experts.
Well, they're lining up everywhere, Port Adelaide. They are absolutely dominating Richmond in every facet of the game. We talk about their energy levels and their effort. They've certainly brought it today. And, you know, albeit Richmond are a younger side and rebuilding, as we know, but Port Adelaide have really come to play today. And Richmond, you better be careful, otherwise this could get out of hand real quick if it's not already out of hand, Emily.
You spoke about it earlier. Richmond are defending for their life. Port Adelaide just have so much energy in their forward half. And what's been so impressive is their ability to handle and exit and not just punish on the scoreboard, but punish in the forward half.
Ebony Marinoff reigning AFLW best and fairest. Special comments alongside Dean Brogan. Back into the centre of the ground. McIntosh with a clearance up the half forward. Aaliyah was good in defence just to bring the ball to the front. Campbell's been busy for Richmond. Gives it to Mansell, who had some time off the ground a little earlier. Just squares his kick across the goal front. Runs through 4 behind. So we are 1-3-9. The Tigers, Port Adelaide, just an impressive 6-5-41. And we're 29 gone in this first term.
Now the defensive goal square. Evans chips it to Sin. Jack Lukosius out of the game with an ankle concern. So Christian Murray is the sub. On field now for the Power. Farrell received the footy and then chips it to the debutant. Out of the Eastern Rangers, Christian Murray sends it high and long towards the logo on the broadcast side. Sweet round towards the ball drop. Bounced off him. They collapse. Almost a domino effect, and Boat tries to get a handball out. Tackled by McIntosh. Ripped away by Wines. Got it forward to Horn Francis. Thrust his handball back, trying to get Valpepper. Missed the target. And the small speedy forward is bowled over by Campbell. Boundary throwing to come right in front of Josh Money.
Aaron, more concerns in Port's forward half. Darcy Byrne-Jones, who was cleaned up in that huge blight spoil, has gone down to the rooms. You'd imagine he'll be assessed for a head knock.
Thanks, Josh. There's been plenty going on injury-wise so far. We know for Port Adelaide, Lukosius subbed out. Murray's in the action. He's just had his first kick at this level. Pick number 48 in the draft. 38 rather. Got to give him a little more credit than that. He just moved up 10 spots as Mansell puts Richmond into attack. Aaliyah sitting at the back looking for a punch. McIntosh just crunched by Drew as soon as he got hold of it. The ball's forced out of bounds. 48 from goal for the Tigers, and they are heading to the river end here at the Adelaide Oval, right on the death of this first quarter, and Port lead by 32 points.
Late chance for the visitors. Tossed in there, 50. Nankervis down, looking for Hopper. Had one arm pushing Rosie away, the other trying to reel it in. Falls onto the footy, and we'll get a ball up. Quiet day so far for the superstars. Tim Taranto with just 3. Jaden Short the same. This is for Richmond. Port's guns are shining out of the stoppage. Burgoyne to Burton, then Richards, and now Sin backtracks at right half back. Sun in his face, hands it off towards Richards. Low bouncing ball. Rioli on the half volley, gets it out wide to Berry, then Lockie Jones goes for a run. Shovels it up towards Boak from 45. Misses to the right-hand side. He's been peppering away, Travis Boak. You can feel his big moment coming. Game 393 officially. In terms of the AFL record, 373.
He's running like an 18-year-old. He's absolutely covering the ground as good as anyone out there, Boakey, and he's been one of the best players again for Port Adelaide this week.
They're up by 33, heading into quarter time.
Clearing kick for the Tigers, out looking for Armstrong, coming through and just blowing the ball out of bounds on the full as Ryan Mansell. We saw Toby Nankervis started where he left off last week in the first few minutes of this first term, but Jordan Sweet has stood up, and Dean Brogan, another giant of the game, he's been pretty good, Sweet.
He's been sensational, and Nankervis, you know, as we said, was best on ground last week, but Sweet, he's normally in your best players every week for Port. He's one of the premier big men of the comp.
Farrell plays on, true centre wing broadcast side. Penetrating kick, Horn Francis with the flight, couldn't reel it in, and then just cops short a little bit high, and there's a bit of words. He gave him a shove, and the Richmond players come from everywhere to let Horn Francis know about it. Geez, sturdy, didn't move an inch. Scuffle continues, and he's walking away with the footy. It'll be a Richmond free down the ground now after all the angst. Nick Vlostone, bit of jumper tugging off the deck. Trainers involved. And Richmond tried to do their best to move it as quickly as possible off that free kick, but ran out of time. First siren here at the Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide fans getting a little bit of relief after a disappointing start to their season. They currently lead by 33 points, 6-6-42 to Richmond's 139. Goal scorers so far today, 2 to Rioli, singles to Burgoyne, Wines, Georgiades and Evans. Meanwhile, for Richmond, Seth Campbell, their only goal scorer so far. Shout out to Sam, CJ and Ben on a road trip in WA listening to the call. Thanks for the shout out, 0437 774 774 if you do want to get in touch. We've got the Saints and the Cats still to come at Docklands. We'll take you there after this contest, and earlier today Adelaide thumping Essendon 61 points, piling on 161 in the result. 2-0 for the Crows. Port Adelaide, the South Australian brother, looking to respond as well in the middle fixture today. Great to have you with us on ABC Radio, News Radio, Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app for Saturday footy on ABC Sport.
G'day, this is Macca, and Sunday's your day.
I've got some roosters and I want to know if your program will help me get them to some farms. They're lovely, they're handsome brutes. I don't want them to go to a pot, Macca.
Give us a ring and say g'day to Australia. ABC Radio and the ABC Listen.
The Socceroos can take a big step to next year's FIFA World Cup on Tuesday night.
And it's a well-crafted goal by the Socceroos.
After a big win over Indonesia, they travel to China, hoping for another 5-star performance. Hear the match live on ABC Sport Digital Radio and on the ABC Listen app. This is the 2025 AFL Premiership season on ABC Sport.
Berry goes for a run in the centre square, darts back across to the broadcast wing, spots a target that he likes, and it's the record-breaking boat. Strong in the one-on-one to clutch the mark, 45 out. It's a tight angle, he wants to share it. He'll hand it off instead to Evans. Evans surging by, pulls the trigger from 50. Wines tried to crump, ripped away by Horne-Francis, got it to Drew, then Rosie, back to Wines. Prolific trio, and it ends in the arms of Georgiades. Surging out of the goal square. Long, methodical approach from Mitch Georgiades. Starts in the centre square, crosses the paint of 50, drives it straight and true. Farrell again. Mansell just launches into a diving tackle. Impacted the kick up towards right half forward. On the bounce though, Burn-Jones, a bit of fancy footwork into the pocket. Hit long enough to Rioli, who can turn and smack it through from the behind line. Berry, desperate from Blight, he got back with the fist. Knocks it all the way to the defensive arc, and he keeps running all the way into Sweet. Ran out of gas. The ruckman sidesteps him. Wines to Burgoyne from 45. Heads home and strikes.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the AFL.
On your radio.
ABC Sport Digital.
And on the ABC Listen app.
Port Adelaide flipping the script so far after the opening round of the footy season. Currently up 33 points at the first change over Richmond, who were looking to pull off another big upset. They were down by a similar margin against the Blues last week, so still plenty of time to go. But Port Adelaide would be happy with the response so far. 6-6-42. They lead Richmond 1-3-9. Already we're seeing Connor Rosie rack up 12 touches and Will Rioli's got a couple. So some of the big names for the Power shining on Travis Boak's big day. Professional games 393, passing Russell Ebert as the all-time games record holder for the Port Adelaide Football Club. 373 official for the AFL as well, as he passes Adam Goods in 11th for that figure as well. Earlier today, Adelaide defeating Essendon by 61 points. Ben Keys and Joshua Shelley had a field day with 4 goals each, and Jordan Dawson had 33 touches as well. You've got the Saints and the Cats to come at Docklands. Aaron Bryans and Mark Soderstrom calling the action for you, and your experts to break down the opening term. Premiership stars Dean Brogan and Ebony Marinoff.
Well, Port Adelaide absolutely smacked Richmond that quarter. They plus 50 in possessions, plus 7 in contested possession, but it's the uncontested possession game is where they're getting Richmond. They're getting them on the outside, and once they get that ball in their forward half, Richmond just can't get it out. And you know, if Port had kicked a little bit straighter, this game could be well and truly over. And if you're Richmond, there's some red alerts going off everywhere, Ebony, and I'm not sure how they get out of it, to be honest with you, because they don't look like anywhere near scoring. I guess the only way is you've got to get the ball on the deck and get it in your forward half and try and lock it in. But look, a lot of heat on Port. They came out and did what they were supposed to do, and they turned up today, and we'll see how they go for the rest of the game.
You just wonder what Tom Lynch being out does for this young forward team. You know, you see Mitch Georgiades, he's presented up the ball beautifully today, and they're really missing Tom Lynch. And you talk about getting it on the floor, on the deck, full of smalls. They're just not being able to do that. But what's been probably more disappointing for Richmond is their disposal efficiency. They're running at 54%. But to Port's credit, that's their ability to pressure, and it's the pressure acts, the perceived pressure, that Richmond are under every time they get the football.
Fair bit of injury news downstairs. We'll get a wrap of it all with Josh Money. Been busy down there, Josh.
Very busy. Port Adelaide obviously dominating on the scoreboard, but a few concerns to their scorers. So we know Jack Lukosius now subbed out of the game. He's got ice on his right knee. That's a big concern. Darcy Byrne-Jones had a head knock and went down to the rooms and is being assessed, so that's another one to watch. Also understand that Ollie Lord, who would be an obvious replacement for Jack Lukosius, the young key forward, is garnering a bit of interest from interstate. He fell on his shoulder in a sample trial game today and has been sent for scans. So no Charlie Dixon, as we saw, have a lap of honour at the start of this game as well. So all of a sudden, Port looking pretty thin in that forward half.
Couple of big blows there. Still 3/4 of footy to go, Brokes.
Well, every team's going to get injuries, isn't it? So we're going to, aren't they? So we're going to see the depth over the next couple of weeks for Port Adelaide, and let's hope Darcy Byrne-Jones can come back on. But look, we're in the moment now, and Port Adelaide really need to go on with this and set themselves up for a massive win and get their season back on track after last week's debacle.
So Camden McIntosh out of the middle. Willem Drew will be running with Tim Taranto. Rosie's alongside Hopper. Nankervis wins it down. There is Ross for the Tigers. He's wrapped up, drops the footy. Burgoyne now brought to ground, and we'll get a ball up close to the attacking edge for the Power. They're heading to the right-hand side of your radio dial. Leading by 33. Sweet down. Put it on the throat of Drew, but quickly wrapped up by Taranto. Ball shoots towards McIntosh, gave it away. Farrell back to Burton, then Rosie. Dances past Campbell. Across to Bergman. They're just backtracking here, the Power. Burton to Lockie Jones, finally heads forward. Puts on the Jets. Handball straight into the path of Dow, though. Ball ricochets off towards Evans. He swings it forward. Moraes. Looping handball over the top to Berry. The two youngsters for the Power. Across towards Burgoyne. Too far out to score. Retreats to Rioli, chips it into the 50. Berry's floated into space. Port Adelaide's first rounder will get a set shot. 40 from home, slight angle to the left.
That was an impressive bit of play. Berry was actually involved in the contest prior. Just his ability to hit the hands on the outside, and then he's run into the forward half and he's got another set shot. These youngsters coming through, their ability to use the ball is super impressive, and it's going to take the whole year for Port Adelaide to have these youngsters get experience. There was big raps. I heard that he was going to be the next Robbie Gray. I'm not sure about that.
The boy from Benalla, 212 kilometres northeast of Victoria. Berry picked 15. His kick across the face to the right-hand side and a minor score. So still yet to get his opening goal in Port Adelaide colours. Port Adelaide up by 34 points to start the second term. 6-7-43 to Richmond 139. Saturday footy on ABC Sport.
Miller's got it for the Tigers. Brings it in, just shoots the ball out to the 50 arc, and the mark has been taken for them by Short, and he's just trying to assess what he's got up ahead. And Port defensively have blocked things off well, but Short's been good enough to find a spot there at half back, and he's got Trezise. So again, Port Adelaide setting up well, so Richmond just have to wait and check. Trezise long to half forward, just falls at the feet of Bergman. The umpires found a free kick. It's going to go the way of the Tigers against Lockie Jones. So play on quickly. Came from Bauer. They're in now at half forward. Handball comes from Dow. 55 out, long kick to the top of the square. Aaliyah was really good, read that nicely, and the short kick, well, it was just about 5 or 6 metres short. So Port Adelaide, the day saved by the former Swan.
34 points their lead. Aaliyah shares it with Burton and then Evans. He's played every game since he was picked up in the mid-season draft last year. It's right at home at half-back. Swings it through Aaliyah towards the eastern side. Kick down the line targeting Rioli. McIntosh got a hand in. Spills down. Traynor to Nankervis. Into the middle to Brown. Tackled. Ball pops out. Head over the footy. Ross is wrapped up by Drew. His pole drived him into half forward. We'll get a ball up. Port Adelaide by 34 points. Saturday footy on ABC Sport. Tossed up. Nankervis down. Just past Rioli. Drew gathers. Rosie swings himself away from the tackle of Ross. Flares it to the broadcast wing to Richards. Bouncing ball just stays in the field of play. Tracked it down and got a handball over the top to Rioli. Plenty of time to think about his usage. Down the line to Georgiades. At right half forward. Into the 50. Perfectly weighted to Horne-Francis at the top of the goal square. He can hand it over the top and turning through. It's slammed in for a goal for young Joe Berry. The youngster's got his first major in the AFL. Joe Berry arrives at the Adelaide Oval. Port up by 40 points, 7-7-49 to Richmond's 1-3-9. 4 played second term. Saturday footy on ABC Sport.
Well, that's just a nice moment there. Jason Horne-Francis hasn't had the start to the game that he's after. 4 touches, but just seizes that moment for Berry's first goal. But another one coming from the ball, the Port's slick ball movement, and Willie Rioli involved again.
Well, if you're Richmond now, you got to change something. It's getting way out of hand. It's almost plus 60 in uncontested ball for Port Adelaide. It's like a training drill out there. And, you know, if you're Richmond, you got to go one-on-one and go back shoulder and start to get some repeat stoppages. As at the moment, Port Adelaide looks like it's a Wednesday night at training. It's becoming out of control for Richmond.
Ken Hickley's boys lead by 40 early in the second. Remember last week, Carlton led Richmond by 41 points 15 minutes into the second term, and they got back going through the centre. Sweet out to Burgoyne. He's under pressure on the outer wing. Shoots it into Rioli, and he positions the ball nicely. Sweet's got it at half forward. Turns quickly, looking for the lead from Georgiades. Couldn't take it, and the ball will be run out of bounds just under the scoreboard here at the southern end. And Port Adelaide, that lead is a very, very healthy 40 points. Let's head down to Josh Money on the boundary.
Good news for Port Soda. Darcy Byrne-Jones has returned from the rooms with his head fully strapped. Looks like he had a cut tended to and could rival Camden McIntosh's headwear, but he'll return to the game.
Nankervis down in defensive 50, hit Trezise. Banks handballed abroad, fumbled. Making amends is Traynor. Just his second game. Poor kick as he looked to exit. Only found Rioli, can hand it to Burgoyne. Time to steady. Snap from 45. Chase has got 2. Burgoyne bomb from downtown. Port Adelaide up by 46. 8-7-55. Plays 1-3-9. 6 played in the second term. Saturday footy on ABC Sport.
Well, I like what they've done with Rioli. This game, Ebony. They've started him in the centre square, around the footy, up the ground, then he floats back, and he's already kicked 2, but he's just having an impact everywhere. He had the intercept mark there. He's just getting outside the 50 and getting in the game. And, look, he's just finding the ball and in the right spots up the ground. His goal assists up there as well. So, at the moment, Porter's just running riot everywhere. And for Richmond, this could be a 100-point game if they don't get going very soon.
Jace Burgoyne has 2. Dean Brogan, special commentary along Ebony Marinoff. Dean Brogan, of course, 04 premiership player with Jace's dad, Peter Burgoyne. 46 points back in the centre of the ground. Nankervis and also Sweet go at it together. Comes down through the centre of the ground is Mead. Long handball out from Sin. Out to half forward flank, outer side. Burgoyne under pressure. He's wrapped up in a tackle by Brown. Little kick going forward, up to half forward. Off the deck is Georgiades under pressure. Tries to be clever. Coming through there. Couldn't quite trap it though. Was Moraes on debut. Comes out to Powell Pepper. Right on the boundary line. No, he can't. Oh my, yes he can from 40. That is a miraculous kick from Powell Pepper. Just amazing. And Port Adelaide have got their 9th. They're out by 52 points. 7 minutes into this second term. Saturday footy on ABC Sport.
Wow, that was super impressive. The youngsters staying in the contest. Richards involved again. Just that ability to hit the hands and catch Richmond's player off guard. And that is, that'd be up there with goal of the year, surely.
It's good to have him back for Port Adelaide fans. He was a bit slow off the mark, scratchy last week, but he got that run in his legs and he's been lively late like all the Port players. But Port Adelaide are a better side with SPP playing with high energy in that forward line, and he would have loved that, and his teammates love him.
Again, Port Adelaide went offline.
Tremendous finish from Powell Pepper, and Port's up by 52. Nankervis down. Dow loses his footing. Squeezing a handball out was Mead. Sweet put his head over the footy and had a big head clash with Banks, who stayed down. Ball back towards the centre circle. Tackle laid by Lawler on Farrell. Sweet's popped up a little proppy. Banks has got a huge gash underneath his left eye. There's a front-on head clash, just accidental from both as they went for the footy. Banks is certainly worse for wear out of the two. Sweet's on his haunches, though, and isn't overly convincing that he's survived this hit. Might check in with Josh Money downstairs to see how Banks is looking.
Yeah, a lot of claret coming from that forehead of Sam Banks, isn't there? He's had a reasonable knock, so looks like he's sort of pointing or touching his eye socket, so that would be a little bit of concern there as well. Jordan's Sweet, for the moment, staying on the ground, but it looked like head on head, so you'd wonder if Port are going to have a quick look at that as well from a concussion point of view.
Looks like Sweet's just been clean in the contest. He didn't really daze at all. He actually got the next tackle, so hopefully Sweet, because that'd be worrying signs for Port Adelaide if he was out.
Quickly tossed in the air. Sweet down looking for Mead. Bounce past him. Moraes clean. Got it to Drew. Now Berry. Spun and then without lost in tackle. Gave it away to Brown. Then McIntosh buffeted off his kick. Down to left half forward. It's the wrong side of the paint. Out on the full free kick. Port up 52.
Do the AFL look at that? Is there a doctor that looks at that incident and can stop the game and pull that player off?
Yeah, they're on the bench, so AFL doctors will look at that and they'll tell the Port Adelaide or Richmond doctor, and they'll have to go grab the player. They actually can't say no if the AFL player's been involved in that.
So we know Sam Banks has been checked. Sweet was the other player from Port Adelaide. He's still out there rucking against Nankervis as it's thrown in centre wing on the western side of the ground. Coming through is Horn Francis. He does that well. He just kept the ball bobbling along, flicked it out, and finally Port Adelaide go through Farrell and then head forward, and the free kick has been given, and it's going to be Sam Powell-Pepper right on that 50 arc. He's under enormous pressure.
He even lost his shoe sodas.
Able to get that back on, though. We've seen before how good that boot works before. Ebony Marinoff from about 40 out on the pocket. He shot through what would have to be one of the goals of the year, and he's ready to have another crack at it here from 50. Do you back him, Eb?
Yeah, he's got a nice kick on him, and at his best, he's one of the most powerful players in the competition, let alone Port Adelaide. As a fit and firing, been injury-riddled, but in for a big year.
Part of the leadership group, Sam Powell-Pepper. Such a key part of this team up forward to provide that pressure, and also to have a crack at a second goal within a number of minutes. Distance-wise is okay, but just drifts it to the right-hand side of the goalpost. So Port Adelaide out by 53 points. We're 11 gone in this second term. 9-8-62 Richmond 139. Saturday footy on ABC Sport.
Miller to bring it in for the Tigers. And a 6 West Australians today in the predominantly yellow with the black strip. Towards the eastern side, and Aaliyah uses the body to edge Armstrong out of the drop. Takes an excellent intercept mark in front of the Williams stand. Port Adelaide up by 53. Aaliyah heads back on the 45. Sin steps off his line after marking, called to play on. Bangs it all the way towards the broadcast wing. Taken inside the centre square by Burton. Chips it down the line to Moraes. Plenty of footy early. The debutant, who was the sub, on for Lukosius. Heads wide to Evans. McIntosh in his path. Evans towards the attacking edge. Hits Rosie. Disposal 15 incoming. Still 12 to play in this second term. The skipper darts it. Bullet pass. Low and hard towards Burn-Jones. The head strapping after his collision takes the mark right on the paint of 50. The tightest of angles.
I think we also forget Zach Butters is out, so Connor Rosie being able to rack up those touches. I think Zach Butters is 4 to 6 weeks away, so that'll be a fine inclusion at the quarter mark of the season as well.
Darcy Burn-Jones decides to centre his kick, top of the goal square. Nankervis flies. Vlostone with the double fist. Didn't get enough carry. Bounces to Powell-Pepper on the behind line. The don't argue with Taranto. Underground handball to Wise. Just couldn't get it back towards Powell-Pepper. And over the boundary line in front of the Riverbank stand, we'll get a boundary throw-in. Port by 53 and inside attacking 50. Although Powell-Pepper was calling for it, it will be tossed into play.
Looking dangerous. Powell-Pepper just in this last 5 or 6 minutes comes across to Burn-Jones, dribbles a little kick, handball comes out. Horn Francis with a kick from 30. He goes up high and he just drifts it across the front of the post. So another behind for Port Adelaide as they continue to pepper away here. 14 minutes gone in this second term. Port 9-9-63, Richmond 1-3-9, and that is a 54-point buffer at the Adelaide Oval.
Long exit, Bower the target, couldn't control it. Burne-Jones tries to push it forward. Dow waiting, darting away from trouble. His handball picked off though. Brought to ground. Good tackle late on Wines by McIntosh. We'll get a ball up close to the boundary line. Right half forward for the Power, up by 54. Sweet down on Francis, wrestling with Taranto. There's two balls. Neither win out. We'll go again.
Just on that, Taranto's only had 3 touches, so we saw William Drew go to him in the first quarter, and Jason Horne-Francis just hit him at the stoppage now.
Horne-Francis uses the umpire to free himself in that stoppage. Couldn't control the ball. Rosie can. Jammed it forward to Burne-Jones and drew the free kick. Has the footy ahead of Traynor. Right half forward at the moment. The All-Australian backman turned forward. Squeezes it down the line. Pinpoint to Pau Pepper. So much momentum. He marked it right on the boundary line. He's thrust himself into the front row. And Sam Pau Pepper now will look to thread the needle from where he did so on the run only 10 minutes ago.
He's right to have a shot from here, isn't he, Soda? He kicked one on the run just before. This should be a soda for Pep.
This is the spot, isn't it? Right here was where he nailed it, but he's got too much time to think, Brokes. It could be a lot tougher.
Pau Pepper on the approach. Opts for the drop punt. Can't make it work. Minor score on the right-hand side. Port up by 55. Richmond's only goal came at the 14-minute mark of the opening term. We've now got 10 to play in the second. Saturday footy on ABC Sport.
Well, if you're Richmond right now, you just got to try and get your hands on the footy and just gain yardage. Just they're handballing too much, and it's inviting pressure from Port Adelaide. You got to kick long down the line. You got to get a stoppage, and you got to get some territory and get the ball in your forward half. They just cannot get it out of their back half at the moment.
Floston to Miller, and then his kick exit. Defensive 50 on the outer side. Little tap forward from Sin was good. Farrell shoots a handball back into the centre of the ground. Logan Evans, just a little fumble, but he's got time to sort things out. Gives it to Jones, who's been good. Comes right across to the broadcast side of the ground, the centre wing. Comes out, kick around the corner from Rioli, who's kicked a couple. But here's a chance for the Tigers. Handball was just missed from Fawcett along the ground, the debutant. Able to butter up, though, is Brown. His kick is good. And the mark has been taken for the Tigers. It's Mansell. He's 40 out, really, really tight angle. And he's right in the spot where Eddie Betts won goal of the year with that goal against GWS a couple of years ago. Probably a little harder for Ryan than it was for Eddie. So the Tasmanian, he's going to be a really, really tough kick. But they've got to put a dent on this 55-point break. Mansell runs around and goes a long distance. Was okay, but he hasn't got the accuracy, so they knock it back down to 54 points. Richmond, Port Adelaide 9-10, 64. The Tigers 1-4-10, 17 gone. Second quarter, Saturday footy on ABC Sport.
Quick exit from the Power. They rock it to left half back. Richards to Rosie. Run down by McIntosh. Turnover Richmond if they can keep it in. Well done from Ross. Pulled it in and then volleyed it all the way from 50. But it'll tumble through for a minor score on the right-hand side. Consecutive behinds. Tigers down 53. 17 played second term. Aaron Bryans, Mark Soderstrom, Dean Brogan and Ebony Marinoff with you for the call. Still to come, St Kilda and Geelong at the Docklands. Port exit to the broadcast wing. Sin, long ball towards Mead, who marks it in front of the benches and then heads back towards Logan Evans, rather.
He's been good again today, Evans. Kicked that great goal from the Boak handball in the first term. The kick just going back into the centre of the ground for Jones. Oh, in trouble is Sin. No voice, ran down by Mansell. And Sin was just standing on centre wing trying to assess his options, and that is terrific tackling from Mansell. Quick to get things moving. His kick is good to just outside 50, and the Tigers are going to have an opportunity here for Fawcett on debut. The boy from Golden Grove from 52 with his first chance at a goal at AFL level, and the debutant has nailed it. That is a brilliant kick and much, much needed for the Tigers. 2-5-17. Port Adelaide 9-10-64. 47 points. And welcome to AFL footy, Liam Fawcett against Port Adelaide at his home state. Dean Brogan, lovely kick.
Well, the last couple of minutes, Richmond have just got themselves into the game, and it's been on the back of some pressure. And this is what we saw last week when they surprised Carlton. They just hunted impacts and they got at the player. And as we saw then, Mansell just ran down Sin, got a turnover, and that's how they're going to get their goals, and they're going to get a respectable scoreline before half-time. They need to double down on this pressure and get at Port Adelaide and start to get Port Adelaide to make some mistakes.
That's exactly what Port Adelaide were doing in the first half with their forward half pressure to Richmond and counteracting that on the other offensive side. So, you know, they really needed that, and an awesome goal on debut just from 50.
Fawcett's first. We saw Joe Berry get his earlier as well. Port up 47 points. Sweet down. Ball pinballs towards half forward for Richmond, and Curvis with the volley. Tumbles in the path of Bergman, who darts away from Armstrong. Handball a little rushed up the corridor. Rosie was the target, picked off by Dow. Into the 50. They're lining up, and Armstrong takes the uncontested mark. We just saw one player kick his first major. Could we see another for Richmond? Armstrong's 25 from home. 45-degree angle to the left.
Well, that was a great pick-up by Dow, and the vision to kick the ball across his body was sensational. And like I said, Richmond just having a little moment. Hopefully they can, for Richmond supporters, they can get back into the game with a couple of quick ones before half-time.
Flip my numbers, Brogues. It's 43, Jacob Bauer, who's got the set shot. Attacking edge of the square. Bauer comes in straight over the goal umpire's hat. Jacob Bauer delivers consecutive goals for Richmond. They're starting to build some momentum on the road. Margin down to 41 points. Tigers 3-5-23. Port Adelaide 9-10-64. Time on in the second. Saturday footy on ABC Sport.
Well, much better from Richmond. That was Jack Ross's ability to impact that contest, get a spoil, and Dow just a really clean pickup. But I like the way he just busted through the stoppage. He drove his legs, and Port Adelaide weren't able to put pressure on him. And that's what happens when you just apply that pressure. You catch Port Adelaide off guard, and you can counteract and be able to zip through the stoppage, and much cleaner play.
They could just make it their contest stuff's been okay. It's when the ball gets outside, the uncontested stuff. If they can make it a bit more of a contest, they'll keep themselves in the game. So maybe a bit of a turning point in the game. The message come down and make it a contest.
Dean Brogan, Ebony Marinoff, your experts. Well, Richmond came back from 41 down last week. Can they come back from 55 down in the centre of the ground? Hurried kick forward, and the clearance only as far for the Tigers as Farrell at half back. Chips a little kick. Drew, he's got Logan Evans running past from half back. He fires a handball out to right half forward. Goes over to Boak. 55 out, just chips a little kick, top of the square. Richmond's defence held up okay at that point. Nan Curvis under pressure. The big man goes down and knocks the ball forward. Comes out to Horne-Francis. He's able to give the ball off. Here we go. Have a look at this. This is brilliant for Port Adelaide. It is another goal. And Mitch Georgiades has his second. That one shot through from about 35 out, following some very, very nice work from Jason Horne-Francis. And after goals to Fawcett and Bauer, Port Adelaide steady the ship, take the lead back out to 47 points, 22 minutes gone.
Well, I tell you what, Mitch Georgiades has been impressive today. His intent from the first quarter, he's been on. His ability to lead up and down the ground has been super impressive. But just that width from the stoppage, as a forward, that's exactly what you want. You want the big tools out and clearing space. With no Jack Lukosius today, Mitch Georgiades is going to have to do it all.
Thoughts of the reigning W medalist, Ebony Marinoff. Port Premiership ruckman Dean Brogan here as well. The Power back on top, 47 points after Richmond flurry. Sweet tapped it down, bounced off Hopper's shins, sliding across. Lawler couldn't gather. Rioli wrenches it away to Drew off a step around the body. Georgiades couldn't control it against Miller. Hits the deck. Richards pounces. Handball over the top to Boak. Didn't have the footy with short breathing down his neck. Neither could gather. And a tackle laid from Boak. That's too high on the top of Thompson Dow. Free kick to the Tigers mid. He's at the top of the defensive goal square. Richmond down 47, and Dow will share it to the right back pocket. Finds Miller, who's calling for options.
Miller goes out aside, half back. Lockie Jones, very nice work defensively against the debutant Fawcett, one of the 4 teenagers in this Tigers lineup. Obviously the 3 that made their debuts last week in Armstrong, Lawler and also Trainer. And it's been quiet for Sam Lawler, just the 1 touch so far today after his 2 goals on debut, the number 1 draft pick. Ball's thrown in outer side, centre wing. Armstrong, one of those boys, flicks it back to Trainer. So the 2 debutants combined, but Port Adelaide at half forward able to wrap things up, and we'll have the ball thrown up 55 out from that Port goal, kicking to the right of screen.
Front of the Rashudo stand, Nankervis down to Taranto, tried to use Ross, dragged it in with the tackle of Drew holding the ball. Free kick Port Adelaide, bang on the 50. Willem Drew's having a think about it, but he's got options running by. Here's Farrell on the lethal left. It's a long-range bomb. Kane Farrell's limitless. Channeling a bit of Dan Houston as well in his new role. Port up 53 points once again. 11-10-76. Richmond 3-5-23. Still 5 minutes to go in the second term. Saturday footy on ABC Sport with Dean Brogan and Ebony Marinoff.
Well, Aaron, well, you took my speech there because they spoke about Kane Farrell when Dan Houston was thinking about leaving, and they said, nah, this is the guy. His ball execution off the half-back has been super impressive over the years. But with the ability to be able to hit the scoreboard, he's super impressive as a half-back. And I think Port Adelaide knew exactly what they were going to get when Dan Houston decided to leave.
I called it early in the game. Richmond, switch on. If Port Adelaide have got a free kick around the 50-metre mark, they are always looking to handball. It's happened 3 or 4 times today, and they're the little discipline things with a young group. You're just not switched on enough for that sort of stuff. But they're going to review that tape pretty hard through the week, I'd imagine.
Dean Brogan, Ebony Marinoff providing your special comments as Port Adelaide continue with the momentum. Taking it out of the centre is Rosie. He's been outstanding. Chips it out to the outer wing to Moraes, and then he just tries to steady things down and gives it back to Jace Burgoyne at half-back, who's got a couple of goals. So Port Adelaide just slowing things down in front of the interchange gates. Taken by Ollie Wines down the line, looking for Powell Pepper. Handball comes out to Rioli. Powell Pepper back onto it close, and it'll be escorted out of bounds by Jack Ross, and he too is having a lean day after having a ripping game last week. He picked up 9 coaches' votes. Today, so far, Brogues, Jack Ross, just the 2 touches.
Yeah. As well as Tim Taranto with the 4, so they've certainly done their homework around stoppages.
Yeah, they look very flat today, Richmond, very flat, and second up after a big game has really hurt them today.
Port by 53 off the boundary throw-in. Mansell skies it to the attacking edge for Richmond. Ball hits the deck and Burton's clean. Hands it back to Sin, takes a bounce through the corridor. Kick well weighted. Over the top to Richards, had Bergman riding shotgun. Sweeping handball out to Burn-Jones. Running through the eastern wing. Side steps his way out of trouble. Then swings it into the pocket. Powell Pepper's floated forward. Marks uncontested on the tight angle. 5 from home. Sam Powell Pepper. Eyes off another major. Gee, the momentum of Port Adelaide as they go almost end-to-end in a matter of moments. Powell Pepper opens the angle, a couple of steps, snaps and finishes. Port Adelaide by a game-high 59 points. And it's not half-time yet. 12-10-82. Richmond 3-5-23. Josh Money downstairs for Saturday footy on ABC Sport.
Aaron, Richmond making their sub now with Caleb Smith, the young defender, coming into the game for his first game of the year. Looks as though Sam Banks has failed his concussion test as well. I understand he was getting some stitching as well, but also the HIA. So done for the day. Caleb Smith in for the Tigers.
Ebony, you've played in a lot of football games and you've probably been down at half-time at some stage in your career. What do you do as a player right now if you're Richmond?
It's really challenging just with the youth that they have, but it's the pressure. They're not really applying any pressure whatsoever. Port are actually leading the tackles 33 to Richmond's 24. So Port Adelaide have had a lot more disposals with 238 to Richmond's 124. So the lack of pressure that this Richmond team, I'd just be getting a tackle trying to create something.
Ebony Marinoff there, and that is a huge differential in terms of possessions. Port Adelaide just on top as Hopper takes the clearance out. Here's a chance now for Campbell again. He ran through and got a goal just to get things going at the 15-minute mark of the first quarter. Just then cutting through. He was 20 out and again tried to dribble it through, but it's gone through 4 or behind. At least there was some clearance and movement forward for Richmond. They're back down to 58 points behind, 29 gone in this second term at the Adelaide Oval.
Free-range paddock for Bergman, who plays on and takes 3 bounces in defensive 50 before heading to the centre wing. When Francis Rose couldn't control it, spilled down to Trezise, just bangs it where it came from. Couple of flyers, and Bergman couldn't hold on to it. Ball hits the deck and rolls over the boundary line. It'll be tossed into play.
It really is worrying signs. That's plus 100 disposals to Port Adelaide. So if I'm Tim Taranto, Nathan Broad, even Nick Loston, they've got to get their hands on the footy. And how you do that is just go find it, pressure, tackle, do something.
Port by 58. Sweet down. Bounce past Lawler. Drew arches the back on the gather and hands it to Boak. Then winds a nice chain. 50's empty. Flooding back. Horne-Francis. Good kick in his direction. Marks. Pops up. Powell-Pepper's floating forward. He sends it to the goal square. Almost a little too fancy. Burn-Jones tried to slide with the volley and hits the post. Horne-Francis could have had the set shot. They're toying with the Tigers a bit here. Back up by 59 as we close in on half-time.
I love it how he's been unselfish, Horne-Francis, but he just needed to go back and kick the goal then. But that's what happens when you're so far in front, and it's like a training drill. You do silly things like that sometimes.
Blight has it at half-back. He's got a runner in short, handballs, and he goes up the line out of side. Mark taken by Fawcett. And the debutant puts the Tigers into attack. That is a nice kick. Bauer was able to get some separation, and he's taken the mark about 30 out just in front of the scoreboard at the northern end, and that was a nice bit of work. Some smooth play, Dean Brogan, out of the centre of the ground, and they finally were able to reward a lead that came from Bauer.
Well, they started kicking the football. They're handballing way too much. They've only had 23 marks for the game, so they need to kick the footy more and hold possession, keep possession like they just did then.
Well, from the Swans Academy to North Adelaide to the mid-season draft in 2022, Bauer has his shot here on the Adelaide Oval and has just hit the behind post from 35 out. So Alir will bring it in for Port.
Pops it short, sharing it with Burton. Goes for a jog through right half back. Kick down towards Sweet. And Curvis gets a fist in and knocks it over the boundary line. Earlier today, Adelaide defeating Essendon by 61 points. Consecutive weeks where they've raised the bat at three-quarter time. Ended up with 161 points on the day. Keys had 4, Rochelle had 4. We've got the Saints and the Cats still to come. Maybe third time's the charm today and we get a close contest. Off the boundary throw in Boak to Drew and then Wines. Running through the broadcast wing, spots Rioli. Desperation late, cutting across. Good fist from Smith. The sub on for Banks. A couple of little side steps and then hands it across. Vlostone finds Mansell. Towards the logo he goes on the broadcast wing.
That's better.
Darts it to Lawler. Looks inside to McIntosh. Good ball movement. He played on and didn't realise he was hunted. Joe Richards out of nowhere catches him with the tackle. Holding the ball. Here's the counterpunch. Boak to Wines. Moraes, unselfish. Shares it to Rioli. Plays on, no one near him, can march into the goal from 20. And Wheeler Rioli has 3. It's all too easy for Port Adelaide this afternoon. Richmond look a shell of the round one side. And Port Adelaide back to its prolific best. 13-11, 89 the power. Richmond 3-6-24. We're moments away from half-time. Saturday footy on ABC Sport.
Oh, McIntosh, experienced player like that, and a star for Richmond. Just needed to be better and have some awareness. But the build-up for Richmond was better, but they just don't know what to do when they go forward with the footy in hand. And Richards from Port Adelaide, great pressure. That's why they got him here. A small pressure half forward that gets up the ground and can tackle in the back half and get forward. And this is well and truly out of hand for Richmond. Half time could not come quick enough for them.
Great tackle, was able to force that goal to come through for Rioli. His third. Boak out the centre of the ground at the reset here. Running through nicely and getting crunched. No free kick. Yes, the umpire has. So That was some very nice work from Josh Sinoff, half-back. He has it on the outer wing. Just a little kick towards Boak, but he invited Brown into the contest and he's punched it out of bounds. Big second term for Port Adelaide. They were able to pile on 7 goals after 6 goals in that first term. And here at half-time, they lead 13-11-89. Richmond 3-6-24.
Powerful display from Port Adelaide. Richmond will do some soul-searching at the half. Goal scorers at the major break, 3 to Rioli, 2 to Georgiades, Burgoyne, Palpepper. Singles to the young Joe Berry, who has his first in the AFL. Farrell, Wines and Evans. Meanwhile, for the Tigers, all individual. Fawcett on debut. Bauer and Campbell, their 3 goal scorers. Aaron Bryans and Mark Soderstrom with you alongside Dean Brogan and Ebony Marinoff. Mentioned a couple of times, but we're headed to Docklands after this with Nat Clinch, Lauren Borden, Boomer Harvey and Nathan Burke for St Kilda and Geelong. Earlier today, Adelaide winners over the Bombers by 61 points. If you do want to get in touch, the text line through the day, 0437 774 774. A lot to unpack from Richmond essentially being unable to replicate what they did in their first game of the season, and Port Adelaide starting to find its feet again. And Brogues, just quickly, I wanted to bounce off that final goal of Ridley Rioli, where you mentioned Richmond look a little lost moving it forward. No Tom Lynch today, and it's this new trifecta with Fawcett and Armstrong up there alongside Bauer, and they look a little bit indecisive when they do get an option to go into the 50.
They do, and we all know where Richmond are in the competition. And yeah, they had a great win last week, but the reality, as we're seeing right now, is where they're really at. And look, I just think I've been in this situation before when I was with the Giants, and you've got a really young side. I think what they need to do is go in and wipe the scoreboard and start again, and they need to put up some wins that they want to get out of the second half. And I would say for them, they need to make this a contested game. They need to keep the ball on the inside and start making it a bit of a dirty game in terms of making it more of a contest, because their contest numbers are actually not too bad. It's when the ball gets on the outside, they just cannot go with Port Adelaide. And Port Adelaide, they're getting it done on the inside, but when the ball gets out, Richmond just can't go. So what you've got to do is you've got to bring some players up around the stoppage and make it a bit of a dogfight around the footy and see if you can get some wins that way and have a good 15-10 minutes, get to three-quarter time and have a couple of wins. But, so, look, for Port Adelaide, it's a live kill, isn't it? Like, it's probably the game you want after what you played last week. Everybody's up and about, everybody's touching the footy, and Ebony, we all like to play in these games if you're Port Adelaide, because you know you're going to have a really good day out and feel good about yourself, and their season's away now.
Absolutely, and the momentum that Richmond potentially would have thought they would have coming into this game, especially as a young group, it's probably a learning curve for them to experience what they did last week and then come in to essentially an undermanned Port Adelaide as well, with Tom Lynch going out with Richmond. You could probably argue both sides, but what's been super not impressive for me is Ross has had 3 and Taranto with 4 and 1 quick kick between them. So experienced players within this young Richmond group. If I'm the Richmond coach and Adam Uze, I'm putting it on them to go find the football. Go to Connor Rosie, go create a contest. I'm trying to look. It almost looks like Port Adelaide have a spare at the contest, although the numbers don't look as bad. But I'd be putting it on them as experienced players and as leaders to lead this youth, because it's not good enough.
Yeah, you got to get back shoulder on a team like Port Adelaide and keep them on the inside. And you're spot on, Ebony. They're just getting sucked into the contest. So, which a young group tend to go and want the footy, and you got 3 or 4 running at the footy. And the experienced players, Port Adelaide, are just hanging out the back, keeping their width, and the ball just flicks out and away they go. So they need to change a few things there, which I'm sure they will. But this is what you get when you've got a rebuilding team against a team that got absolutely pummeled in the media and absolutely pummeled last week. It was a hiding to nowhere, really. But look, I tip my hat to Port Adelaide. They've come out and done what they're supposed to do. Can we get carried away with this and they're back? Probably no, but I like what they've done. They've changed a few things. Rioli started in the centre square. They got him going. Jones has responded with a solid half after his poor performance last week. And look, they look like they're better, but Richmond haven't shown much, have they?
That's the hard thing to look at it, because you're saying we're talking about Port Adelaide being super impressive. Connor Rosie, Travis Boak, Ollie Wines. They've had big games. Willie Rioli's had an impact, but they've been under no pressure, and And that's the hard thing to judge, because you're sitting here saying, you know, they've been super impressive. What I have seen is their ability to hit those handballs into space and really, you know, caress that to the next running player and create overlap and really good looks inside 50. But that is really easy to do when you're under no pressure whatsoever.
It's a tricky situation for Port Adelaide, and this is no disrespect to Richmond, but it is almost a no-win situation where you can only beat who's in front of you. And I don't think we're going to build a lot of confidence back in the Power after today, because until they play another contender, you've still got that question mark over what happened last week. But you're right, Brooks. They've ticked all the boxes they needed to so far. There's still a half of footy to come, so they've just got to play out the 4 quarters. And I guess the little subplot, if you want something to hook your teeth into, is Travis Boak, that we've seen these little flourishes of maybe hitting the scoreboard, and he's been unselfish through the afternoon. But it is his big day as he breaks the all-time games record for Port Adelaide, and maybe we get a late goal that'll erupt this crowd at the Adelaide Oval.
And he's looked good too. He looks really good. Last week he looked good as well. So Boakey just keeps keeping on. And, you know, there were some questions how he's going to go this year, but he has started the year like as he always does. He's just the true professional, and he doesn't look like slowing down at all. But, yeah, some really, really good signs. And I really like the look of Richards. He looks like that forward where they recruited him. He's had 14. He's been up the ground. He's been busy. And I really like the Port Adelaide small forwards getting involved. And they're having a feel-good game, aren't they, really? And they'll start to feel good about their game at the end of today and take the season on. And their ball movement and their offensive side of their game has been spectacular today. But you can only play who's in front of you, and they've done exactly what they should do to a young, undermanned Richmond side.
Last week, of course, Port Adelaide was smashed by Collingwood. In terms of tackle count, though, Collingwood were all over them, 69-43. Ebony, you've talked about the dominance in possession today that Port Adelaide have, but a really pleasing sign for Ken Hinkley and his boys is they are plus 12 in tackles, despite that whole scenario of having so much more of the football, you know, essentially double the amount of the ball. So that has been a real positive from last week.
And that's just energy, intent and effort. So that's not hard to do. As a football player, it doesn't take much to go create pressure in a tackle. It's a little bit harder to find the ball under contested in different situations. But it has been pleasing to see them respond. And I think that's what they were after. You don't want to get too carried away, but you can see a response from them. And the intent in the first half, there's certainly, I guess, a certainty there. A home game. We touched on Travis Boak. There's question marks at the back end of the season. It's an interesting one. You've seen Taylor Walker get rested last week. How do you manage these players? Are Port Adelaide going to play finals this year? Travis Boak not at his absolute best at the back end of the season. It'll be interesting to see your Scott Pendlebury's and all these. How do you manage it if a team's still making finals or through a rebuild?
And the only downside of that is both subs have been activated. So concussion for Sam Banks, he's out. Caleb Smith in. And for Port Adelaide, Jack Lukosius only lasted a couple of minutes and then was out with an ankle injury. And as a result, the debutant Christian Moraes is in. Just touching on that tackle count, Soda, as well. Didn't realise that Willem Drew has 11. Record for most in a game, Rory Laird with 20. So we'll keep an eye on that across the afternoon as well. I'll run through exactly what happened between Adelaide and Essendon at the MCG in a moment's time, and give you a little bit of what's to come with St Kilda and Geelong at the Docklands. But for now, on ABC Radio, Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app, we can take you to the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
ABC News, I'm Eliza Getzi. Federal Labor is expanding its Help to Buy shared equity scheme to help more young Australians get on the property ladder. The shared equity scheme allows home buyers to co-buy their home with the government, which takes a 30% slice of existing homes or 40% of new homes. Housing Minister Claire O'Neill says the government will increase its contribution under the $6.3 billion package.
We've got a generation of young people growing up in our country who can't see a pathway to home ownership, and our government wants to change that. Now, Help to Buy is going to help 40,000 people who would otherwise have no real chance of home ownership get into a home of their own.
Federal opposition leader Peter Dutton has criticised the scheme, declaring Australians don't want to co-own a home with the government. Mr Dutton says the government is to blame for housing affordability issues.
The Albanese government's created this housing crisis by bringing 1 million people in over the course of just 2 years, which is the biggest intake in our country's history. They have allowed the CFMEU to run riot across the building sector. So we've had a record number of building companies which have gone broke, and it's forced up the cost of construction.
London's Heathrow Airport says it expects to return to full operations today after being closed for much of yesterday by a power outage. Flights at Heathrow were disrupted after an electrical substation fire knocked out its power supply, stranding thousands of passengers and causing travel turmoil worldwide. Heathrow is Europe's busiest airport and the world's fifth busiest. It says its teams have been working tirelessly to reopen after the forced closure. And critics have accused a US university of caving to demands from the Trump administration in the hope of regaining lost federal funding. Larry Buttrose explains.
Columbia University agreed to some changes demanded by the Trump administration, which withdrew funding following allegations it tolerated anti-Semitism on campus over the Israel-Gaza war. The Ivy League University plans to hire security officers with arrest powers and appoint an official with a broad remit to review courses on the Middle East. Among the critical voices is Todd Wolfson, president of the American Association of University Professors, who says the demands are arguably the greatest incursion into academic freedom, freedom of speech and institutional authority seen since the McCarthy era in the 1950s.
The head of Sudan's army says they will continue fighting until the end after retaking the presidential palace in Khartoum. The army has seized the compound from the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces who took the palace at the start of the country's civil war in 2023. The Sudanese army had been on the back foot but has recently made a number of significant gains. This woman in Khartoum says people are happy the army is back in control.
Today people are so happy.
Today, people are so happy that the army is controlling the palace, but they cannot celebrate because they fear gathering, because wherever they're gathering, there is bombing. So people are just celebrating in their homes. They can't go out because of the shelling.
Back home, a prominent planning expert has called the Victorian government's plan to expand train lines in Melbourne's outer suburbs a deceptive sham. A report released yesterday by national advisory body Infrastructure Australia suggests that the first stage of the rail line will cost vastly more than the $35 billion budgeted and raised concerns around the business plan underpinning the project. RMIT's Michael Buxton has slammed the government's suburban rail loop proposal and says the federal government should not help pay for it.
I mean, there should be no question that the government should not fund it. Infrastructure Australia is telling us that the state government has overstated the benefits, it's understated the costs. So the whole thing is fundamentally flawed and a sham.
Police are investigating the murder of a man in Tasmania. Officers say a 19-year-old man was stabbed in the head in Glenorchy, a northern suburb of Hobart, last week. Police say he died in hospital this morning. Anyone with information is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. And in sport, Adelaide has beaten Essendon by 61 points in their high-scoring AFL clash. The Bombers fell behind early as the Crows dominated for their first win at the MCG since 2017. Adelaide's Isaac Rankin kicked 2 goals as his team won 25-11-161 to Essendon's 15-10-100. And Mahuna has won the world's richest horse race for 2-year-olds, the $5 million Gold Slipper at Sydney's Rose Hill. The filly, trained by Michael Friedman, won in a driving finish with Woderton in second and Tempted in third. You're up to date with the latest from ABC News.
G'day, this is Macca.
Macca, you're talking about the cost of everything. Chocolate went up 500% last week. So we'll start growing that in far northern Queensland. Come on, you Queensland farmers. Tell me about pineapples, grow some cacao.
Love you to join me every Sunday, ABC Radio and the ABC Listen app.
The tradition continues.
He's well. Front three, he's welding.
The Sheffield Shield Final on ABC Sport.
What about that? Unbelievable.
Catch every ball on the ABC Listen app from Wednesday. This is the 2025 AFL Premiership season on ABC Sport.
Banks handball to Broad, fumbled. Making amends is Traynor. Just his second game. Ball kicked, he looked to exit. Only found Rioli, can hand it to Burgoyne. Time to steady. Snap from 45. Chaser's got 2.
Georgiades under pressure, tries to be clever. Coming through there, couldn't quite trap it though, was Moraes on debut. Comes out to Powell Pepper, right on the boundary line. No, he can't. Oh my, yes he can from 40. That is a miraculous kick from Powell Pepper. Just amazing.
Free kick, Port Adelaide, bang on the 50. Willem Drew's having a think about it, but he's got options running by. Here's Farrell on the lethal left. It's a long-range bomb! Kane Farrell's limitless. McIntosh, good ball movement. He played on and didn't realise he was hunted. Joe Richards out of nowhere catches him with the tackle, holding the ball. Here's the counterpunch. Boak to Wines. Moreira's unselfish, shares it to Rioli. Plays on, no one near him, can march into the goal from 20. And Will Rioli has 3.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the AFL.
On your radio.
ABC Sport Digital.
And on the ABC Listen app.
It's been all one-way traffic at the Adelaide Oval this afternoon. Port Adelaide powering to a 65-point advantage at half-time over Richmond. 13 goals to 3. The Tigers, a shell of the side we saw upset Carlton last week. And for those wondering, what if maybe you could pull off a smoky tip, like someone in the box named Ebony Marinoff, it just hasn't gone to plan so far this afternoon. Port Adelaide look back to their best. And again, you got to measure them against the quality of the opposition. You can only beat who's in front of you, but so far ticking all the boxes and answering the questions a week ago that were posed after their 91-point loss to Collingwood. A big day out for Connor Rosie. He's got 19 touches. Even better for Travis Boak, who's got 16 alongside 3 clearances and 3 inside 50s, because this is game 393 for him. That includes 373 AFL games as he passes Adam Goods in 11th overall and 20 pre-season games. He passes Russell Ebert for the most played ever at the Port Adelaide Football Club. Someone who is referred to as God around Alberton, certainly the greatest that had ever played at the footy club, and you can look at the accolades and try and distinguish between the two, but there is a common theme amongst Travis Boak and Russell Ebert, and that is their virtues from their professionalism and loyalty and commitment. It is a day celebrating one of the greats of this footy club. He's been getting closer and closer towards goal through this game, so maybe we'll see a late highlight through the afternoon. Aaron Bryans and Mark Soderstrom with you alongside Dean Brogan and Ebony Marinoff. Josh Money downstairs, he's been very busy. Jack Lukosius with an ankle injury in the first few minutes out of the game. Meant that Christian Moraes, the debutant sub, was activated. He's looked good so far. 7 touches in these early stages of his young career, pick 38. Sam Banks out with a concussion after a big clash with Jordan Sweet. Both just put their head over the footy. Nothing malicious, but Banks came off worse for wear and is now subbed out of the game. 0437 774 774 is the text line if you want to get in touch. Earlier today, Adelaide had a monstrous win over Essendon. 25-11, 161 to 15-10, 100. And really the Bombers only got to raise the bat once Adelaide took their foot off the throat. They ended up tactically subbing Isaac Rankin as they were so far ahead by that point in the game. They've reached 100 now comfortably in consecutive weeks at three-quarter time, Adelaide, so the scoring is certainly up and about, and will give a lot of Adelaide fans some hope that maybe the drought will be over in terms of September action. They've certainly snapped their losing streak at the MCG. It took nearly 3,000 days to do so. They were winless in their last 11 and now have snapped that with a big away win over the Bombers. Jordan Dawson again leading the charge, 33 touches with over 700 metres gained. The goal scorers were a good little mix, but Ben Keys again popping up for a big performance with 4 goals, and Joshua Shelley, after Matthew Nicks touted him as the player with the best pre-season he's ever seen, has had a couple of big games so far and delivering to the coach's promise. Zach Merritt was the best for the Bombers. He had 36 touches and 4 goals, but not a lot around him. And the halfback usage for the Bombers certainly costing them plenty of time. So there'll be some searching for Brad Scott, because there's no easy task next week. They've got to host Port Adelaide. So there'll certainly be a flip in terms of the fixtures that are to come as the Power head over to play Essendon, and Richmond will end up playing St Kilda, who are where we're headed to next at the Docklands, the Saints and Geelong there. There is some injury news as well. If you caught Mitch Cleary's tweet yesterday, it was broadcast last night as well as part of our coverage, that Bailey Smith with the calf niggle is out for Geelong. And news out of the West Coast camp, who play Brisbane tomorrow at the Gabba, Jack Graham has been withdrawn from their squad with a hip injury, so Clay Hall will come into the team. The emergencies remain unchanged. Great to have you with us as we continue this triple header of footy on ABC Sport. In the NRL, the Dolphins and the West Tigers have just got underway. Scores are 6 apiece. And later today we'll have the Titans and the Knights. You can hear it all on the ABC Listen app. good crowded attendance. Large majority of those decked out in teal for Port Adelaide this afternoon. Brogues and Ebony, we're expecting much of the same, or can Adam Uze reignite his charges and get a little bit of a fight back into the Tigers?
Oh, it's a great question. What I will say is Richmond looked absolutely spent at that last contest when McIntosh had that fumble in Richmond's forward half. So I'm not sure how their legs are going to go there, but they've had, 20-odd minutes Brogues to refresh and reset. So I'd like to see a little bit more intent, especially I touched on Taranto and Ross. I'd really like to see them start this quarter really strong. We can see them starting at the centre bounce, and Willie Rioli still there. So a big move in Kenny Hinkley. Willie Rioli started at every CB in all these quarters so far.
Well, what you want to see from Richmond is guys like Tim Taranto have 4 possessions at half-time and Nathan Broad. That's not good enough for their senior leadership group. They got to get going. If you're Port Adelaide, though, this needs to be a 100-point win. You need to put your foot down and make a statement and keeping on in a game that you should win and win easy.
65 points, Port Adelaide lead by Can Adam Uze ignite the fire. The skipper, Toby Nankervis, in the centre of the ground trying to pump his boys up. He was terrific last week, but Jordan Sweet has just been outstanding today, and you're going to get a reset here and go head-to-head, the boys again. Wines couldn't take it. Lawler, really quiet first half after impressing on debut last week, tries to get involved, and we'll have another reset, still inside the centre square. Just the 3 goals for the Tigers so far. It comes out to Nankervis, gets a clearance into attack for Richmond. High ball and read beautifully by Lockie Jones, able just to move Bauer out of it and takes the mark in a defensive 50.
Today, Jones, been very good.
Up towards Mead, had a runner surging by, tried to hit Bergman, fumbled. They've made amends, mopping it up, and it's a sea of teal. Mead to Rosie into the 50. Horn-Francis flies. Miller got front position out the back door. The Hornets too fast, paddles it to Powell Pepper. Had to become the tackler on Miller, who dove onto the footy. Ball up to come at the northern end, close to the goal line.
You sense that Port Adelaide going to run all over them. There was about 5 Port Adelaide players running through the corridor then, and not a Richmond player in sight.
Tossed up, sweet down from behind Nankervis. Bounces towards Brown. Did he keep it in? Tried to run across the right back pocket, but he'll be pulled back by the boundary umpire. Port's 50. They're up by 65 in the early stages of the third term. Saturday footy on ABC Sport.
I mentioned Lockie Jones before, and he dropped a couple of easy marks last week and looked a shell of a player last week, but he's really turned up today and he's been strong in the contest, going with great efficiency. Really happy for him, and the Port Adelaide team need him to take the next step.
Yeah, Lockie Jones has had 12 possessions, 7 of those contested. He's been doing the hard work. Short off the throw-in, tried to get it close. Rioli near the boundary line. Chips in, gives it to Burn Jones somehow. Had a couple of bites at it, then tried to kick it around the corner from about 20 out from the boundary line. Unsuccessful. Through for a behind. Port Adelaide able to get a point, so they are 66 points up. 13-12-90. Richmond 3-6-24. 2 minutes gone. Third term here. Saturday footy on ABC Sport.
Richmond exit to the eastern side. Vlastone to McIntosh. Forward to centre wing. Mark taken by Green. Swings it to the attacking edge to Mansell. Turns and spots a target in the 50. Heading to Armstrong. Nearly clunked it over the top of Jones. The 234s fighting for the ball, and it rolls over the boundary line. Josh Money's been busy downstairs, not only with injuries, but he got in touch with me about a stat. Reckons Willie Rioli's never had a centre bounce before. Had a quick check, and he's correct. So this is his first time starting in the middle, and he's had a fair few of them this afternoon. Tossed in, Nankervis down, only found Burgoyne. Hands it to Wines for the power, and a high looping exit in front of the Williams stand. Might be coming straight back.
Yeah, mark taken by Broad at half forward. So here's a chance. The 150 gamer, triple premiership star, just decides to cut it across to short. He in turn goes to the centre of the ground. Lost and all of the premiership stars combined, and he goes forward. Mark cannot be taken by anyone in yellow, and it is Port Adelaide's defence that is holding up well. Little flick comes out to Aaliyah, just outside defensive 50. Overrun by Horn-Francis, opens the door for Armstrong to come in. Going forward again, Armstrong with a little 1-2 up to half forward, but it's cut off by Ryan Burton. Safety in defence for Port Adelaide.
Exits to Richards. Little sidestep around Bauer, and now Lockie Jones, drives it to the 50. Jones looking for Power Pepper. Soaring back, takes the mark against Miller. He's 30 from home, 45-degree angle to the right, and Richmond again. The momentum swings dramatically. Quick ball movement and a set shot to come.
It was Richmond's entry. It was poor. It was a turnover, and off to the races with Port Adelaide. And yeah, Lockie Jones breaking the lines, kicking the ball well inside 50. He's really starting to, get to the level where he should.
Staring into the sun, Sam Powell-Pepper. Kicking to the left-hand side of your radio dial. Powell-Pepper comes in close to the man on the mark who didn't jump, and Powell-Pepper's happy to cash in. He's got 3 for the afternoon. Port Adelaide up to 14 majors. 14-12-96, plays 3-6-24. 5 minutes into the third term. Saturday footy on ABC Sport. On the text line, Fran in Melbourne says, enjoying the call. Do you think travelling might be a factor for the Tigers? Not an excuse, but they are still young and inexperienced. Average age of this group, 23.6. Port Adelaide's 24. So there isn't enough veterans to balance it out, but it is an inexperienced group.
You'd think so, but it's probably even the energy that they were able to use against Carlton last week. It takes a lot out of you. So, I mean, that was probably, 8 or 9 days ago. But Port Adelaide's ability to turn that turnover into a fine finish from Powell-Pepper was really impressive. It's been interesting. Jason Horne-France's been playing a little bit deep now that Jack Lukosius has gone out with injury. So Powell-Pepper's hitting the scoreboard with Jack Lukosius going out more forward. Re-centre
in the centre of the ground. Handball from Rosie goes to Moraes. He goes up forward looking for Georgiades. Couldn't take it. Back to Moraes. 55 out. Gets a handball. Pops it forward again. 2-on-1. Georgiades in the middle. It comes out over the back to Willarioli. Running into an open goal. And what's he done? He's just bounced off the knee into the goalpost for a behind. And that was a wasted opportunity for Port Adelaide. One of the few mistakes we've seen so far today. And they're out by 73 points.
Voice of Mark Soderstrom for Saturday footy on ABC Sport. Aaron Bryans, Dean Brogan, Ebony Marinoff with you as well. Caleb Smith, the sub for the Tigers, squeezes it down the line. It's tight on the paint. Umpire reckons it's out. Jack Ross thought it was in.
He can't buy a disposal today.
They'll have to hand it back to Moraes. Across to Mead. Port Adelaide back into the 50. Centering ball, 40 from home. McIntosh flies and cuts it off. Front of the pack. The dual premiership Tiger heads across defensive 50 in front of the scoreboard to short. Now Miller. Front of the Wanganeen stand over the top. Heads through the eastern wing. Here's Traynor in his second game. Very impressive against the Blues. He's an under 16 and under 18 All-Australian. Settling in an undermanned backline for the Tigers due to injury. Down the line he goes. Armstrong crunches the pack, hits the deck, and Mead comes out of it, surging away. Handball through traffic as he links up with Burgoyne. Forward to Wines, and now Rosie. Again, a procession through the middle. Rosie to Boak, then Richards. Spots Rioli alone, 30 out. Tresize launched himself in the air with a double fist and a heavy landing. Knocked down towards Powell-Pepper. Bounces off a couple of bodies. Gets it to Rioli. Out to Moraes. Back to Powell-Pepper. Dummying some candy. Running out of room. He'll retreat with the kick. Sweet at left half forward. Bangs it to the top of the goal square. Tresize has risen. Flying up Rosie. 2 Tigers collide. Nankervis has absolutely cleaned up Dow. Spills out towards right half back, and Richmond can get out of dodge.
Mansell has it at half back. Goes up. Broadcast wing. Logan Evans runs back. Beautiful pickup by the teenager. Comes around. Shoots the ball defensively across goal. Opens the ball for the door for the Tigers. Steely Green's got it. He's kicked though. Misses Lawler. And the 222s are at it. The young boys, and Logan Evans gets himself out of jail there. That was a risky kick, and it was almost there, Dean Brogan, and they get it behind.
Well, that's the difference of the good sides. They just make you punish when you're able to turn it over in your front half. Unfortunately for Richmond, they're just not there yet. But I will say their energy and effort is better to start the third quarter.
Bergman to Alier, then Drew. Through centre wing on the broadcast side, Moraes finding plenty of the footy on debut, and Rosie wants to go for a run. Just wheeling through traffic, but stopped, and Mansell gets him.
Great tackle.
just kept fighting. And Ryan Mansell gets the skipper of the power. Free kick Richmond right half back. Down 72 at the moment.
Well, Mansell's been the one setting the tone for Richmond today. He's had six tackles and 10 touches as well. But he's looking lively and he's got a lot of intent.
Great pick up by Smith. The sub comes forward. High ball. Running back with the fly. Couldn't take the mark but showed some great desperation and courage was Armstrong. And the ball is crashed out of bounds. So there'll be a reset for Richmond. Ball's at the southern end, of course, when you watch the cricket here at the Adelaide Oval. If you're coming off the long run from the river end, that is the end that the Tigers are going to. Nankervis just slaps it down to the feet. Port Adelaide kick comes rushed out, and it's okay from Jackson Mead. Centre wing, Richmond have the ball and flicked it in nicely there. It was Trainer, who was good last week. Again, the sub in Smith knocks it forward into the attacking 50. Taranto's been quiet. He had his chance straight through the legs there, and the kick from Aaliyah is clearing and marked at half back there by Horn Francis.
Defensive edge, wants to go up the spine. He puts it in the path of Berry. Can clean gather. Thrusts the handball forward. Richards turned into trouble but shrugged off Mackintosh. Joe Richards from 40. He's got the teal feel. His first goal for Port Adelaide. And they rise to celebrate him at the Adelaide Oval. Joe Richards puts Port up by 78. Game high midway through the third. 15-13, 103. Richmond 3-7-25. Saturday footy on ABC Sport. Their experts Dean Brogan and Ebony Marinoff.
Again, that came from a forward handball to get. Mackintosh had to make a decision there. He chose to go. Great strength from Richard, but they've been doing that all day, and it's so hard to defend when you've got momentum as a Port Adelaide player. You're never going to be tackled.
Well, the difference is Richmond had 3 or 4 opportunities off turnover and just couldn't be efficient going forward. With a young group, they're missing Lynch, whereas Port Adelaide, they get their chance off turnover, they go coast to coast and kick a goal, and it's just it's men playing boys today, and Port Adelaide are just punishing them off turnover and in general play.
Well, Joe Richards gets his first there for Port Adelaide. Horn Francis out the centre of the ground. They're doing it with absolute ease. And the kick is a good one. And it comes to Connor Rosie, 40 out directly in front. And that was just too easy out the centre of the ground.
Ollie Wines rucking took that clearance to Horn Francis. So Ollie Wines doing it all at ground level and in the ruck. That was impressive by Ollie Wines.
Yeah, Ebony Marinoff spot on. No Finlayson, Vicentini, Soldo, Lord or Marshall. So it's Ollie Wines combining with Sweet, giving him a chop out as the skipper just steadies the kick nicely. Port Adelaide get their third for the term. They take this out even further. It is just an absolute whitewash at the moment. Port Adelaide up by 84 points. 16-13, 109. Richmond 3-7-25. 12 minutes gone. Third quarter Sunday footy right here on ABC Sport.
That's a luxury that you have with Ollie Wines, Mead. You can put Rosie in the forward half, and he's not aerially known to be great in the air, but just because he's got so much speed, he can catch his defender off guard in the 6-6-6 in the centre bounce.
If you're Richmond, you're learning a lot today. You're learning a lot on how to win the ball on the outside and how you move the ball. And as a coach for Richmond, all you can do is just keep sending positive messages down, play some back shoulder, keep your tackle count up and your pressure alive, and try not to make this a 150-point loss, because that's where it's heading right now.
Blight in the ruck against Wines, and the Brownlow medalist infringes. Free kick to Richmond. They're down 84 points. They're going to give it to Thompson Dow for a hold. So the young midfielder called to play on. Steps across the centre circle and launches it towards the 50. Throw a blanket over them. Armstrong with a couple of juggles in the middle of plenty of bodies. Couldn't control it. Ross's handball picked off. Drew for the power to Wines. Turns in traffic. Managed to find a gap as he parted the seas. Hands it across to Burton, then back to Berry. He's wrapped up by a couple in the centre square. We'll get a ball up. Quickly tossed into the air. Blight wins the tap down straight to Lawler. Quiet today. Heads for home from 60. A highlight from the youngster. Sam Lawler gets it done out of nowhere. Just like that, Richmond respond. Back to 78 points, the deficit. Port 16-13, 109. The Tigers 4-7-31. This kid's got a bit of pizzazz, Brogues.
Well, he looks like he's been put in the guts, so he's starting at this centre bounce. Spent a lot of the game in the forward line starting, so a good move by Adam Uze to put him in the midfield. Tim Taranto, Ross, they're not really having a day, so can you get a youngster, throw him in the deep end into some experienced players in William Drew, Jason Horne-Francis?
I think he got a bit lucky there. He didn't know where his opponent was, which is Horne-Francis, and he went looking for Horne-Francis, who was by himself at the stoppage as well, and the ball just landed in his lap. So, yeah, look, sometimes that happens, but he's been a bit quiet today, the kid, but as we know, he's got some talent.
Yeah, he's kicked a goal there to add to the two he got last week, and the ball has been reset in the centre of the ground, and a free kick has been plucked out for the Tigers. Blight has it in the centre square. The runner is short. He gets it nicely. Came from Dow, and he goes up towards the forward line. Not an accurate kick, though. Just drifts off into the pocket and out of bounds, just around from the point post. Kicking to the southern end, Richmond.
With that kick from short, you'd like to see it a little bit more offline to the goal square. He just tried to have a peg, and it's a little bit hard if you're a forward.
Blight in the ruck again for Richmond, attacking 50. Edges out Wines. Ball hits the deck. Burton tackled by Blight. Hits the deck. Whistle. And it will be a free kick to Richmond. And Jacob Blight holding the ball. And the defender is going to have a chance at his first goal in the AFL.
I think he's gone forward, which is why he's found himself there. And a great tackle by the big fella. And let's see if he can hit the scoreboard.
Maybe Adam Uze's struck a bit of gold here with the defender who can pinch hit in the ruck. He's looked good so far. Jacob Blight had a Peel Thunder, last year's mid-season pick. Looks a little wobbly, the hop step, leans back on the kick. Never in doubt. Jacob Blight's got his first goal in the AFL. And they come from everywhere to celebrate. A nice moment on a dark day for Richmond. Margin down to 72. Port Adelaide 16-13, 109. The Tigers 5-7-37. 16 played, third term, Saturday footy on ABC Sport. Shout out to Milo, who's listening on Christmas Island. Hope you're enjoying the coverage, Milo. Ebony Marinoff, Dean Brogan, your experts. Jeez.
Well, I was calling Ebony Emily before, so we're square there for Eb.
It's a long day.
But look, it's good. When you're in a position like this, Adam Uze, you can throw the magnets around and see what you've got. They've thrown this big fella into the ruck. He's been competitive. He gets after it in the forward line, gets a tackle, holding the ball, having a shot on goal. That's what Adam Uze would want to see, is players, when they get an opportunity in a different position, to really impress. So he's got something to think about moving forward with the list he's got.
So Ollie Wines in the ruck against Blight, who takes it out of the air, flicks out a handball, Hopper. He just goes with a little grubbing, clearing kick only as far as Burgoyne. So Port Adelaide have it centre wing. Handball from Horne-Francis, punches it in the direction of Wines, goes up to half forward. Richards combines, little 1-2, and it comes back to Richards, and the kick is a good one. Connor Rosie will have another opportunity to have a shot here. It came from Mead and Richards combining nicely. And Connor Rosie, the skipper, is right in front of the scoreboard, about 20 out on a really, really tight angle. You got his number here, Brogues?
The day they're having, why not?
Well, he's got a little bit of check side slash banana going here. The skipper, oh yeah, really nice. Just bends it around, gives himself a little bit of room. And Dean Brogan, you're spot on. The goal is kicked by Rosie, and the lead now is restored to 78 points. Port Adelaide 17-13, 115. The Tigers 5-7-37. 18 gone here in the third quarter. Saturday footy on ABC Sport.
Richmond's lack of pressure on the ball, it's just not there. Port Adelaide's forward handballs have been going all day. They're flinging around 20 metres. Connor Rosie he's having himself a game, leading from the front, spending a little bit more time forward with the 2 goals. He's been, involved in many with 10 score involvements. It's been super impressive, and coming into the captaincy last year, you almost sense that maybe he wasn't ready, but his start to the season, he'll be better for that, and yeah, he's a fine player.
Thoughts of Ebony Marinoff, the W medalist, with us for ABC Sport this afternoon. Port up by 78. Tapped down to Taranto, very quiet, uncharacteristically today. Kicked it straight to Burton, who fumbled, and it's ripped away by Campbell. Puts on the Jets, up towards the goal square. Kicks a little wide. Lockie Jones is happy to let it bounce through for a minor score. Port's lead reduced to 77 off that Seth Campbell kick. Still 8 to go in the third term. St Kilda and Geelong coming your way next. Had a couple of big blowouts this afternoon, so maybe the night game's the solution as we take you to Docklands for the Saints and the Cats. And the exiting ball for Richmond, for Port rather, targeting Bergman, and Voston uses the body to force it over the boundary line.
There's something for Richmond to hang their head on so far this quarter. They're +2 in clearances, only -2 in ground balls. Contested possession, they're up. So we talk about that contest that I spoke about. They've come out and made a bit more of a contest, and they're starting to win the ledger in those areas.
Yeah, the umpires picked out a free kick here. A gang tackle by a pair of power boys onto Steely Green. And it is going to go to Ollie Wines, who worked in partnership there with Jordan Sweet to get that. So at halfback, just chips it across.
You'd have to say Jordan Sweet's, putting his stamps on Nankervis. He was super impressive last week with his 2 goals and 20-odd touches. Jordan Sweet's had his fair share with 27 hit-outs and Nankervis with the 28.
Rosie's got it. Just weaves his way around a couple of opponents. Handball came across the free kick. The umpire said play on. Benefit of the doubt goes to Mead, and his kick into the attacking forward zone, but coming across was Trainer, and he went the double fist and knocked it out of bounds, 40 around from the Port goal at the northern end.
Might have had a record there for play on to advantage. I think there were 3 high tackles in that play, and Port just kept going. Boundary throwing in there, 50. Tossed in, Nankervis front position, won it down, nearly hit Palpepper, ripped away by Taranto, flung it out of there on the boot. Blight with the fist behind Bergman, rolls towards the centre square. Jones puts his head over the footy, couldn't extract it. Bauer can, uses Blight, tried to get around Mead, a handball to Mansell. Richmond working it forward, on the bounce to Green, 1-on-1 in the 50. He'll try and place it in the lap of Fawcett, it's a little long. Alia's closing, Fawcett in the phone box, gets a handball to McIntosh, pushes past Burgoyne, Camden rolls one through from 15 out. McIntosh on the board this afternoon. Richmond have their 6th at the 21-minute mark of the third term. Port Adelaide 17-13, 115. The Tigers 6-8-44. Saturday footy on ABC Sport. Your experts Dean Brogan and Ebony Marinoff.
Well, we said Richmond need to win a couple of KPIs. For the quarter, they're 3 goals 2 to Port Adelaide 4 goals 2. Clearances, they're +2. Ground balls, they're level. Uncontested possession, they're only down -14. Now, that is, in a normal game, that's not great, but for the way this game's going, that's a win for them. Contested ball, they're +5. Tackles are only -3. So marks is 13 apiece. So they've come out here and they've obviously changed something at half-time. They're controlling the ball a little bit more. Their forwards look like they're high up the ground, so they're getting Port Adelaide running back towards goal. I like what they've done. This could have gotten seriously ugly. It could be 100 points right now, but if they can win the quarter, that's a massive win.
Nankervis back in the ruck after getting that little chop out from Blight, and it comes down from his ruck work to Hopper, turns and bangs it up to the 50, but Port Adelaide defensively is good. Lockie Jones, we've talked about him a little bit today, and the boy from Baskerville on the York Peninsula has taken a decent mark in their defensive 50, and he can just reset things here for Port Adelaide.
He looks sore. He can't kick the footy. He's grabbing his hamstring. Well, that's not great.
Giving it off to Farrell. His little kick has only gone as far as McIntosh. Centre wing, broadcast side, puts the ball back into 54. Richmond, couple of bites at it. Sitting in the front spot was Bauer. He couldn't take it, but just behind him, able to reach over the top and finally pluck the ball. The mark has been taken by Blight. So we've seen a little bit of him. He's having a bit of a purple patch the last few minutes. It's going to be 55 out. Blight had a bit of an issue with the groin last week and was subbed out. Chance to kick a fourth goal for the term for Richmond. As we've heard from Dean Brogan, they've just got a little more of the ball, just working a little harder. The kick goes across the face. It's knocked down, kick smothered, Rosie. And then Nankervis taken down in a tackle by Burgoyne, and the umpire just waits before he makes a decision and decides that he's going to throw it up, and it's only 12 metres out from the Richmond goal.
Richmond edging closer. Sweet down. Lawler pulled it in with one hand, had Wines all over him, just couldn't get boot to ball. Rosie tries to rush out of dodge. Hands it to Farrell, then Aaliyah. Across to Burgoyne. Not a lot of room to work with, and navigates it well to Rosie. Thumps it low and hard, and it ricochets off Ross coming the other way on the attacking 50 and over the boundary line in front of the Rashudo stand. Josh Money downstairs.
I believe it's just cramp for Lockie Jones. He was stretching those legs out maybe 20 seconds before he got the football. Really didn't want it, but has had his hamstring concerns, as we know, but looks to be okay for Port Adelaide.
We get the pickle juice out.
Tossed in, Nankervis down, only found Rosie. Hands it to Berry. Clean low towards Wines. Gathers with Fostone closing. Ran out of room over the boundary line. Always is a little bit of heart and mouth stuff with Lockie Jones. He's had a history of soft tissues, but glad to hear he's all good. Port Adelaide by 71 at the moment. Still 5 to play in the third term. Later today we'll take you to St Kilda and Geelong at the Docklands.
Back into the ruck. And little tap out, flicked into the direction of Mansell. And kick in for the Tigers. And sitting under it, trying to take the mark there, but couldn't quite get it, was Bauer. Burgoyne in defence. He's got enough time to hold it. Flicks it out to Burn-Jones. He in turn has it again at half-back. Port looking okay for the moment. Farrell, Mead, and here's Burgoyne running through the centre of the ground, receives a handball. His vision is absolutely outstanding. The kick goes to Powell Pepper. He shares it over with Jason Horne-Francis, and he runs into an open goal, and Port Adelaide go bang and reply to McIntosh's goal, and they're back out to a 77-point advantage. 26 gone in this third term. Port 18-13, 121. Richmond 6-8-44. Saturday footy on ABC Sport.
That's about 6 forward handballs, and Jason Burgoyne, just his ability to hit Powell Pepper, didn't blaze away. He probably had 3 or 4 options, and again, unselfish play from Powell Pepper this time. Jason Horne-Francis probably gets one back that he gave off earlier on in the game. But yeah, this forward handball game that Port Adelaide have got going today, we've spoken about Richmond not putting a lot of pressure on them, but it's been super impressive.
Not to be outdone by their crosstown rival, the Crows piled on 161 points against the Bombers. Port Adelaide at 121, and we've still got a quarter and 4 minutes to go. Saturday footy on ABC Sport. Aaron Bryans, Mark Soderstrom, Dean Brogan, Ebony Marinoff with you. Bounce in the middle from Lee Howson, knocked down by Sweet. Rioli forced to tackle Nankervis, caught in the sandwich. We'll get a ball up close to the logo on the eastern side. In the shade from the Bradman stand, engulfing half of the ground now. Tapped down by Sweet. Lawler again only had one arm free against Drew. Tried to reel it in, couldn't control the footy, and Taranto wraps up Rioli. Seen plenty of stoppage usage today, Willie Rioli. Sweet down through the hands of Lawler. Rosie clean as he spun and for the overhead handball to Rioli. Wasn't expecting it. Sin gathers. Taranto brings him down, and we'll try again. Port by 77 on the eastern wing at the moment.
There's been a lot of attention on the succession plan throughout the week. Josh Carr fronted the media yesterday and said, don't worry, Ken's got hold of the wheel, and Port are driving this nicely at the moment. Tigers have the ball on the outer wing. Seth Campbell shoots a handball, but it's pinched and taken. This is some terrific work by the skipper. Up to half forward. Powell Pepper is alive. He's taken the mark on the point of the square, then kicks down. Burn-Jones, the unlikely leading power forward, slaps the hands around it, and he's taken the mark. 20 out, 45-degree angle.
Just too many handballs by Richmond. They just needed to get it on the boot, get it inside 50 again, which they are winning that area +3. Just get the ball inside 50 so you can defend your forward half, but over handballing leads to a turnover, leads to an easy shot on goal for Port Adelaide.
Well, Darcy Burn-Jones' milestone 200th game last week was forgettable in terms of a result. Here's a chance now in 2:01 to kick a goal, and he does that, puts it through. The Port Adelaide faithful are up and about, and they are enjoying this now. 29 minutes gone here. Port Adelaide 19-13, 127. Lead the Tigers 6-8. 44. It has been a huge response after last week's 91-point drubbing against the Pies.
Well, Brogue, you spoke about the over-handballing. It's Port's pressure that's not allowing that. Port are able to overuse the handball because there's no pressure coming at them. But Port's ability to put pressure on Richmond when they have the ball is why they've been so impressive and had all the momentum today.
It's a good point. Port go 1-1, whereas Richmond go 3-1, and it gives that overlap handball with experienced players. Port Adelaide invite the pressure of three coming, and then they're able to get that forward handball. And Richmond and Port, on the other hand, are going 1-1, get the pressure.
Port by 83 points, sweep down the bootlaces of Drew. Shovels a handball out to Horn Francis, bouncing off Trezise. Picked up by Short, running through the logo on the eastern side. Drives it up towards half forward, whistle before the ball drop. And Evans has infringed on Mansell. So free kick Richmond left half forward. Ryan Mansell directing traffic as Port Adelaide floods back. The momentum halted. Mansell leans back and sets it up left forward pocket. It's a little long, close towards the left-hand behind post.
Aaron, you touched on that kick being a little bit long. He's got to be able to pop that up to the square. It's just so hard to mark that. You're either having the shot on goal or you're placing it just inside that box, you know?
You got two options of the leading lane or the goal scorer. He didn't really pick the gap out of the two. Tossed in. Blight edged out. Sweet Taranto at the back off a step. Heads for home. Misses to the right-hand side. Port Adelaide by 82. Tim Taranto's 11th touch of the afternoon. Career low was 9 in his first year at the Giants. But in terms of his time at Richmond, the lowest he's had is 11 against Collingwood last year. So he's now equalled that. See if he can improve with a quarter to go.
Better at Giants, Aaron, or Richmond?
Depending on the role, I guess. I'd probably say Richmond. He was the best and fairest winner at Richmond. He did the same at the Giants, but yeah, I don't know. Sitting on the fence on that one, Ebbs.
Top 50 player?
Maybe he won't go there.
We'll kick in for Port Adelaide from centre outer wing. Comes across to Rosie, and he's just ticked over to possession number 30. He's had a huge game after 30-plus last week as well. Port just moved the ball straight across the ground to Jace Burgoyne and then to Logan Evans. So they've front of the broadcast area. Now they're just waxing back and forward, holding things for the moment as we tick over to almost 32 minutes in this third term. It has been 6-3. A bit of an improved performance by Richmond since the first half as Logan Evans now decides he wants to go forward to half forward, but the kick doesn't have a lot on it in terms of favouring Port Adelaide, and Brown is able to chop it off and take the mark and go inboard.
Brown, one of their first round picks. He's looked good so far this season. Picks off Floston in the corridor. And now Campbell, a bit of fancy footwork as he wheels away from Aaliyah. Around the body, hooks it towards goal and misses. Just caught the belly of the ball and threw on the right-hand side. Another blemish for the Tigers, 6-10-46, down 81. And again, just a little bit of green shoots from their kids, even though it hasn't been their day.
He looks good, Campbell. He's got some toe and he's got a bit of flair. Got the boots on, the flashy boots, and he looks like a bit of a player. You just need to finish the goal then. He did everything right but finish.
Dean Brogan, he's kicked 1-3, so he's looked likely every time he's got it. He just hasn't had a lot of opportunities, and we can see he's reasonably acrobatic given his performance last week too, with a couple of goals. Jordan Sweet at half-back has it, and he's kicked. Wasn't a great one, but the siren beats Richmond to the footy, and it was, well, an improved performance by the Tigers. They added 3 goals to Port Adelaide's 6 in that term, and at three-quarter time, Port Adelaide lead by a whopping 81 points. 19-13, 127, Richmond 6-10-46.
The lead just keeps getting bigger. All eyes on the record books now. They're the biggest score conceded by Adam Uze's side is 163. Richmond at Port Adelaide rather at 127. And earlier today, The Crows piled on 161 on the Bombers, so can Port Adelaide get there as well? A couple of little things to keep us going as before we navigate our way to the Docklands, St Kilda and Geelong to come up next. The goal scorers heading into the final term: 3 to Rioli and Powell-Pepper, 2 to Georgiades, Rosie and Burgoyne. Singles to Richards, Burn-Jones, Evans, Horne-Francis, Wines, Farrell and Berry, his first in the AFL. For Richmond, all individual: Lawler, McIntosh, Fawcett on debut, Bauer, Campbell and Blight has his first in the big leagues. Great to have you with us on ABC Radio, Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app. The final term coming your way next for Saturday footy on ABC Sport.
The World Test Championship is coming.
He gets connection here, lifts it over the keeper, one bounce for 4.
Australia versus South Africa.
And he nicks it, he's got him again.
Catch every ball on the ABC Listen app. This is the 2025 AFL Premiership season on ABC Sport.
Lockie Jones drives it to the 50. Jones looking for Powell-Pepper. Soaring back, takes the mark against Miller. He's 30 from home. Powell-Pepper comes in close to the man on the mark who didn't jump, and Powell-Pepper's happy to cash in. He's got 3 for the afternoon. Berry can clean gather, thrusts the handball forward. Richards turned into trouble but shrugged off McIntosh. Joe Richards from 40. He's got the teal field. His first goal for Port Adelaide. White wins the tap down straight to Lawler. Quiet today. Heads for home from 60. A highlight from the youngster. Sam Lawler gets it done out of nowhere.
And here's Burgoyne running through the centre of the ground, receives a handball. His vision is absolutely outstanding. The kick goes to Powell-Pepper. He shares it over with Jason Horne-Francis, and he runs into an open goal, and Port Adelaide go bang.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the AFL.
On your radio.
ABC Sport Digital.
And on the ABC Listen app.
A landslide response from the Power at the Adelaide Oval this afternoon, up by 81 points over Richmond, 19-13, 127 to 6-10-46. Earlier, the Crows dismantled the Bombers by 61 points as well. They piled on 161 at the MCG. Here's hoping third time's the charm. Next, we're headed to Docklands for St Kilda and Geelong. Lauren Borden, Brent Harvey, Nathan Burke and Matt Clinch, your call team tonight. Clinchy can preview it for us all on ABC Sport.
Aaron, good afternoon to you. It's not a great omen, is it, when you think Geelong defeated Fremantle by 78 points and Ross Lyon's Saints went down to the Crows by 63 points. But the upside for people wanting to follow the footy tonight is that Ross Lyon has a winning record against Chris Scott, especially here at Docklands. They've won 2 of their last 3 matches, so the Saints won back in round 24 by 18 points. They kicked 13 goals to 5 after half-time and won back in 2023. So for Saints fans, they come along optimistic that maybe playing under the roof might suit their game style. We are expecting a late change for the Cats. Bailey Smith didn't train later in the week with a calf concern, so expecting he'll be a late out. Ted Closey is out there amongst the emergency for Geelong, but the team sheets haven't officially lobbed. And for the Saints, there'll be 4 changes tonight, with the debutant Isaac Keeler making his debut, pick 44. So gets his opportunity from North Adelaide alongside Stocker, Owens and Collard, who come in for a St Kilda side that was beaten comfortably by the Adelaide Crows last week, but hoping they can bounce back tonight. Of course, no coverage on free-to-air TV, so we'll keep you company on ABC Sport via ABC Local Radio, Grandstand Digital and on the ABC Listen app. As you said, the team will be here and ready to go for the Cats and the Saints.
Looking forward to it, Clinchy. Can't wait to see Isaac Keeler, one South Australian for another, replaces Harry Boyd, but he's a good little pinch hit at ruckman as well as a forward target, so hopefully he has a good debut for the Saints tonight. Port Adelaide and Richmond at the moment here at the Adelaide Oval. Great crowd attendance. It is members' recognition round. They're also celebrating some of the retiring greats in Charlie Dixon, Trent McKenzie and Tom Cleary. And it is a record-breaking day for Travis Boak, who passes Russell Ebert for the most games at Port Adelaide. He looked really good in the first half. He's had 19 touches for the night, yet to hit the scoreboard, so we'll wait and see if he can pull off a major in this final term. If you do want to get in touch, the text line 0437 774 774. And for our listeners on digital local radio in Melbourne, Hobart, Adelaide and Darwin, following this game will take you to weekend evenings. Everybody else, you're headed to the Docklands for the Saints and the Cats. Dean Brogan, Ebony Marinoff. Some promising signs from Richmond in the third term. Can they cap it off with a nice final quarter.
Well, they nearly won the quarter, so you could sense that there was more intent around the football. The law went into the midfield. Taranto got a little bit busier, so a couple of changes, but I reckon it was just their intent and energy. The first half, they looked like they were not putting any pressure or trying anything new, and I like the changes that Adam Uze's made, but I feel like they're going to run out of legs here.
Josh Money downstairs.
Yeah, Port Adelaide's key defenders' stops or troubles with them are well documented. They may have another one. Ryan Burton, who just can't get a clean run at it in the rooms with a sore hip.
A groin issue in the build-up. Now it seems to have backed up with some more concerns for the lower body. Not good for Ryan Burton. Jeremy Finlayson omitted after concerns about his effort against Collingwood. Port Adelaide by 81 points. Final term underway. Nankervis down, only found Wines. Just threw it out in the tackle from Dow. Free kick to Richmond. And they'll head inside 50 to start this final term.
Dow takes the Tigers into that attacking area. Alir came over the top, but the hands weren't strong enough from Port, and that is a lovely grab taken. Nicely done there by Blight. And we have talked about him in the second half. Good. He's given them something, Breaks. Certainly has.
He's been a target for him, and he times the ball really well. He picks the flight of the ball and the drop of the ball really nice, and that's a really strong grab, and he's been a positive for Richmond today.
Well, they have been able to take something out. He's already kicked the goal. It was his first at AFL level. The boy from Peel Thunder directly in front, just goes straight across the goal. Misses the opportunity for his second. Let's head down now to Josh Money on the boundary.
Yeah, still no sign of Ryan Burton, so becoming increasingly unlikely we'll see him today, and another blow to Port's key for defensive stocks.
Jack Lukosha subbed out with an ankle injury minutes into the game. Christian Moraes has been great, though, on debut. Bergman looks for the exit to the eastern side, and flying across the pack, Tom Brown to cut it off for Richmond. They activated their sub early as well. Sam Banks with a head-on collision with Jordan Sweet. Didn't win out. Concussed and out of the game. Brown into the 50. Big fly from Bauer. Couldn't clunk it. Spills down. Banks in traffic. Copped a couple of high knocks. Tried to head for home, but it will come back his way. It's Mansell who's been picked up for the free kick. And he'll get it staring into the sun on the tight angle. 35 from home.
Geez, that was almost mark of the year. Who was that?
Bauer just launched himself. Took a seat in the air.
That was massive. Started the quarter well again, Richmond.
Seen a couple of those big flights with heavy landings, though. Tresize nearly landed on his head, and Power almost did the same. Ryan Mansell's had a decent afternoon. The Tasmanian who played for Woodville West Torrens. Couple of steps. Mansell heads for home. It's high and looping and missing to the right-hand side. Port by 79. Opening couple of behinds in this final term to the Tigers. 19-13, 127. to 6-12-48. Saturday footy on ABC Sport.
Well, Logan Evans, the youngster, given the opportunity to bring the ball in. Richards, who kicked his first goal for Port Adelaide earlier in the game. Showing that he's lively and capable. He's got it just in the defensive 50. Exits out to Logan Evans. He's been a really good player, this kid. 19, mid-season draft last year from Norwood. He's cool, calm and collected and goes straight across the ground to Alir. And he gives it off to the veteran. Bokey, Travis Boker's handballed into Steely Green just as the crowd was starting to get on their feet and get excited because their milestone man was getting about, and Richmond get the chance to go forward. Good kick.
Green links up with Mansell, then targeted Fawcett. Had a couple of bites, couldn't reel it in. Boston with a tackle on Jones, and Port Adelaide win out. Rosie into the corridor to Sweet. Back to Burgoyne. Under a bit of pressure from Green. His handball misses Bergman. Nankervis fighting for it. Closing in on the Richmond 50. Ross threw his body on the line. Port Adelaide again get away. Moraes on debut to Richards. Couple of the new faces on the 45. Kick is clean. Hits up Georgiades. Had Burgoyne for company. Pushed as he kicked it. The central kick heading towards Horn. Francis will come back. And a free kick to Jace Burgoyne at right half forward, after he was collected by Campbell.
That should have been play on, shouldn't it?
Downfield. Downfield, yeah.
I don't understand that at all.
Great to have Ray Chamberlain as part of our coverage over in Melbourne. He's been excellent at explaining some of the calls. We needed him for that one.
He'd be busy, wouldn't he? Explaining some of the decisions.
He's been very good. Burgoyne to Powell Pepper. Has it at right half forward. Sets it up top of the goal square. Francis lost his footing against Vlostone. Hits the deck, charging by. Richards tried to collect instead of soccer. And it's knocked through by the Tigers for a minor score on the right-hand side. Port back up by 80 as they move to 19-14, 128 to 6-12-48. Saturday footy on ABC Sport. Tim from Wodonga on the text line says, this is making Carlton's loss look even worse. Right off Ken Hinkley at your own peril.
Triple premiership Tiger, Mick Vloston, brings it out to sub who came in today, Smith, and his kick isn't good. Port Adelaide able to bring it back through. That is a lovely kick. Georgiades, who has his moments today, is drilled beautifully. He takes it on the chest from Jason Horne-Francis.
Just on that, Jason Horne-Francis had a little more of a quiet game up to his standards. He's had the 13 touches, been involved in 10 score involvements, probably another one. But a little bit quiet, probably spending a little bit more time forward this game, I think.
Well, Mitch Georgiades has kicked a couple. And he's looked likely, particularly early on. He was giving Port plenty of opportunities, and this one shouldn't really be an issue for him. He's only 25 out, 45-degree angle going to the southern end, the river end of Adelaide Oval, and he likes it as soon as it leaves the boot. So Georgiades gets 3 in the absence of Dixon this year, and Todd Marshall missing as well with injury. It is just what Port Adelaide needed, and they are now out by 86 points, 2014-134, Richmond 6-12-48. Let's head down to the boundary, Josh Money.
So the mixed news for Port. Ryan Burton definitely struggling with this sore hip, but he has returned to the ground. He's playing forward though, as we saw him do at times last year, so helping the Power with their rotations, and certainly they feel he's okay enough to at least run out this final quarter, or limp out this quarter.
It's a good point you made with Horne-Francis. Have they, like last week he played a lot of midfield time and got exposed the other way against Collingwood, have they made a decision that he's just not up to full-time midfield level just yet, and that's why he's spending more time centre forward in the forward line, and they're getting better output from him? He's had 11 score involvements, kicked a couple of goals. Like, is that Horne-Francis' game moving forward? Who knows?
86 points the lead. Sweet down, Wines fumbled. Thompson Dow pounced. Hooks a wobbler through the air, almost a helicopter up to half forward. Nobody knew where it was landing. Steely Green dives towards the ball drop. Logan Evans stuck in a hand in. Shoots out towards Drew, then across to Mead. Port Adelaide now on the charge. Wines stopped. Handball smothered. Dow gets it out towards Bauer. Then McIntosh has gone down, clutching his ribs. Port Adelaide get the turnover. Mead to Bergman. Logan Evans is a bit sore as well from that collision, and the kick from Bergman's poor. Only finds Caleb Smith at the attacking edge. Has Short running by, and the handball doesn't hit him. He could have pulled the trigger. Instead, now running out of room, has to lower the eyes. Good kick. Hits up Armstrong on the charge. And this time, young Harry has a chance to kick his first major in AFL.
Well, they almost mucked it up, didn't they, Richmond? But yeah, like you said, great call, Aaron. It was a bullet-like kick to a forward, and that's where you want him. You're leading hard at the kicker. Hit him right on the chest. Can he finish the goal on a really good entry from Richmond?
Pick 23 out of Sandringham, the leading goal kicker at the National Championships. Plenty of effort across the opening 2 games, but yet to hit the scoreboard. Armstrong crosses the paint of 50. Straight approach, it starts left and no curve. Through for a minor score. Richmond's deficit 85 points. Port 2014-134. Richmond 6-13-49. Still 14 to play here at the Adelaide Oval before we take you to the Docklands for the Saints and the Cats.
Kane Farrell with that low, hard left boot. Kicking out, goes to half back. Boston tackled, slinged around, and his handball goes as far as Brown. He puts the Tigers back into attack. Good hand, strong mark. And here is another chance for Richmond to have a real crack at this. And Armstrong, like we said, we were almost willing him to get a goal. Now the man from Sandringham, and what sort of factory has that been, producing players? His former Sandringham teammate and now Richmond teammate also made his debut last week alongside him as Armstrong from 48 metres out finally slots it through. So he does get his first, and is much needed, and as we heard Aaron Bryan say, he's worked really, really hard, and alongside Luke Traynor, the Sandy boys have come in. He's finally got a goal, brought the lead for the Power back to 79 points, 13 gone on ABC Footy. Saturday action for you right here.
Oh, if you're a Richmond supporter, you want to see him finish off the game, and I know they're a young side, but if you can win the last quarter and take something out of it and head into next week, it makes the road trip worthwhile, because pretty much for half the game you've been belted, but second half they've won inside 50 count, you're winning contested possession, your uncontested possession is a lot better, and your contest stuff's pretty good. So if you're Adam Uze, you're pretty happy with how the second half's gone to date, but can they win the quarter and keep this score, around 70 to 60 points? I think it'll be a good way to finish off the day.
79 at the moment. Tigers have a date next week with the Saints, Port Adelaide with Essendon. Sweet Down was looking for Horn Francis. Chuck Taranto in a headlock, free kick Richmond, and quickly they want to go. Running by Short, receives the footy and heads to McIntosh all alone on the logo. No one's really closing down to stand the mark, and he doesn't want to play on either. McIntosh has no idea what to do. He's looking back, looking sideways, and finally chips it down the line as Ross presents. Quite a day for him after a really prolific performance against the Blues. Ross tight on the boundary line, heads into the scoreboard pocket, and in the hole is Burgoyne to cut it off. Port Adelaide with the footy, currently up by 79 points.
Well, Burgoyne's had a good day. He was important early to help Port set up. Long kick onto the outer wing is effective from Sin. The mark has been taken. Going forward, though, this is Vlosten. He's at half-back. Goes inboard just over the top of Lawler. Lays a tackle as well. Winds the ball on hands and knees. Just tries to bustle his way through on the outer wing. Everyone on their hands and knees. Flicked out with the one hand from Traynor. And you heard the crowd saying, well, that is throwing the ball. And the umpire has picked it, gives it to Georgiades, and he sends it off to Burgoyne.
Through the eastern side, go the Power. Mead loops it towards Horn Francis, spots Burton, who's floated forward, couldn't take the mark. Caleb Smith with the spoil will get a boundary throw in. Might be worth checking in with Josh Money now that Burton's back on the ground.
Yeah, as we said, that hip is certainly not quite right. He's basically playing as full forward now, but of course, as with Lukosius already out for the day and the sub on early for Port, he's helping out with those rotations.
Just seeing some images of Lockie Jones as well, so we'll head back to Josh Money in a moment. Out of the stoppage, Sweet tapped it down to Horn Francis, was clotheslined, no free kick, pull up to come.
He wasn't happy with it either, was he, Francis? He thought it was free kick.
Fans have just seen the replay. It won't matter. Out of the stoppage, winds to Burn. Jones missed his boot. Could have had a shot at goal. Didn't cash in. Blight gets the exit. Richmond now have the ball at the defensive edge. Armstrong through the eastern side to Green. Not a lot ahead of him. Porter zoned off. Green in front of the Bashir stand. Down 79. Drills it low and hard to Ross. Tied at right half forward. Look to centre to Short. Attacking edge of the square. He's got some options in the corridor. Instead, opts to go wide right as Traynor goes for a run. He backs himself, heads long towards the goal square. Good body work. Armstrong has just flung Bergman to ground and taken a nice contested grab straight in front. And after a goal drought across his first couple of games, Harry Armstrong's about to go bang bang.
Been lively over the past 5 minutes for Richmond. Armstrong just presenting really well up the football.
Straight in front. Man on the mark at the top of the goal square. Harry Armstrong trots in and has 2 in his second game. Port's lead down to 73. 20-14, 134 to the Tigers. 8-13, 61. We've played 13 minutes in this final term for Saturday footy on ABC Sport. Josh, are you seeing anything down there with Lockie Jones?
Yeah, he's pointing to his left knee. The club is saying that it's still a cramp issue. He really can't move it. I think he's just about taken all of the physio pickle juice that they have available today. It is nasty cramp, which we know is in vogue at the moment, but it is pointing to the top of that left knee, so we'll keep watch on that one. Josh
Money down on the boundary for ABC Sport, and that is back-to-back goals for Harry Armstrong, combined with his former under-18s teammate at Sandringham there, Luke Traynor, whose granddad, Doug Wade, more than 1,000 goals at VFL level was watching on when he made his debut last week. Back into the centre of the ground, just trying to bustle his way through his Horn Francis. Gives it to Wines. They flick the ball around. It comes with Connor Rosie. Dances through the centre of the square. He was looking for Willie Rioli. He was under enormous pressure from a pair of Tigers, and they're able just to cancel that as Willie's right elbow looks a little sore, and it was some nice defensive work by Brown to ensure that contest was nullified.
Looks like a bit of a stinger. If you Port Adelaide now, the last thing you want is to start getting some injuries. It's been a bit of carnage out there with Lukosius out, now Jones out. Last thing you want is that.
Tossed in, Blight, the only ruckman, took the footy and tried to barge through Drew. That's a tough task. Got it out to McIntosh, then Broad in game 150. Down the line, Fawcett flies, couldn't pull it down. Armstrong's hand pass picked off. Port Adelaide now look to counter. Horn Francis to Burgoyne in the centre circle. Straight drive towards Drew, half forward. Spotted Mead in the attacking 50. Lawler cuts across, knocked it down. Short picked it up and is collected by Richards, who's now clutching his right hamstring. I think that's more of a knock than a soft tissue. And the Tigers move it to the broadcast wing. Here's Lawler again, who only had a couple of touches in the first half, but had a nice goal from 60 in the third and is starting to build into the game.
Yeah, nice kick from Lawler. Presented beautifully was Blight, who has been doing okay. It is a perfect kick you heard from Dean Brogan. And that's gone to Armstrong, and hasn't he been prominent in the last few minutes? He took it from just outside 50, directs the ball into the area of Fawcett, another of the youngsters. This one on debut as well, the 18-year-old, and it's taken out of bounds. So 30 out, 35 out from the Richmond goal, northern end. 15 minutes gone in this final term, and Port Adelaide lead by a whopping 73 points. They needed a response, they needed to turn around, and in front of 37,000 people, they've been able to do that. But we've got to ask how good Richmond are, as the kick comes from Burgoyne. The little handball at half-back and shot it up high. Couldn't take the mark, was Broad, and he's thrown down his opponent in Georgiades. The free kick's gone to Broad. They've said play on. Under pressure though, Luke Trainor's kick has gone out of bounds on the fall, and Port Adelaide will have an opportunity from left half back Travis Boak to bring it in.
37,000 a little low, Brogues, considering the occasion.
It is, but I don't think the time, 3:40 on a Saturday, helps anybody. A lot of cricket, a lot of sport starting up again. It's hard for families to get here at that time.
Bigger crowd than the last two times these two sides met, so it's not the worst. Port Adelaide move it to the eastern side, currently leading by 73 points. Mead to Farrell, casual through centre wing to Rioli. Looks better after his knock. Shares it with Pound Pepper in front of the Williams stand. Still 8 to play here at the Adelaide Oval. Then we'll take you to the Docklands for the Saints and the Cats. Pound Pepper plays on and arcs around the man on the mark. Penetrating kick into the 50. Rising early was Georgiades, and Nankervis stays down to cut it off. Cross defensive 50 to Broad. Had the option to leave for North Melbourne at the end of the year after the mass exodus of Tigers, and Broad staying true. Now reaches game 150. They've nicknamed him the Fossil. Not very nice from his teammates. Shares it to Short. Now to Brown. Thinking about the eastern side, but quickly realised they didn't have the numbers. Kick has to be good, and he's done well. Hits McIntosh in front of the Rashudo stand. He can chip it over the top, and Traynor can get them going.
His kick goes up on that outer side, and the Tigers can attack again. This is Campbell. 2-on-1. Alia comes back with it. Evans has to be quick. He's taken down in the tackle, and the umpire, is he giving him the benefit of the doubt? He's giving him a free kick. Said the tackle was just a little high on Logan Evans against Mansell.
You can't fault Mansell's effort today.
He gets after it, doesn't he? I've been impressed by him. He really gets after it.
Got a bit of junkyard dog sort of style about him, Mansell. Always goes hard. He did that when he came from Tassie up to South Australia to play for Woodville West Torrens in the Sandford. Played in the flag and has been terrific since he crossed over at Richmond.
Port by 73. Adelaide earlier by 61 over the Bombers. Rosie backtracks to Evans in front of the scoreboard. Now on the 45 to Farrell in the defensive 50. Here's Rosie again. Spears it towards Richards and keeps going. The skipper, the third possession as he tries to arc away from Mansell. He's filthy with himself. He couldn't run him down. Kick into the 50. Fist comes across from Miller. Knocked down to Boak. Hands it across to Burton. Powell-Pepper thrusts it forward. Georgiades had Boak running by. Didn't use him. Heads for home instead. The crowd all are up for his fourth. Gee, we almost had a big moment there.
He missed the moment, Mitch. He's got to give that to Boakey. No, he did the right thing kicking the goal, didn't he? But he's got to sense the moment.
He was
there,
right
Mitch.
next to him. Mitch Georgiades has 4, though. It's still a big day for him, as it is for Port Adelaide. Up by 79, 21-14, 140 to the Tigers, 8-13, 61. Time on in the final term. Saturday footy on ABC Sport. Aaron Bryans, Mark Soderson, Dean Brogan and Ebony Marinoff with you for the call.
We've just seen the images. Mitch Georgiades apologising to Travis Boak. He shakes his head and laughs. It's the pressure that he was actually under. You could sense that he was not sure what to do, but what you can't see is Ryan Burton's contest. He looks like he's on one leg the contest prior to that, but he created a contest and they've got a goal from it.
Just quickly before we head to the Saints and Geelong at Docklands, late change confirmed. Ted Closey in for Bailey Smith. The subs, Hugo Garcia and Ted Closey for the Cats.
Well, McIntosh got it from Nan Curvis in the centre of the ground. Tigers go forward as we just still look at Georgiades with no sense of fietta whatsoever. He's got a 36-year-old who's ran half the ground to go and get a handball. I mean, Mitch, give him the ball.
He's got to give it.
Come on.
He's got to give that to the old man running fast. The all-time games played for Port Adelaide does not give him that handball.
No, Mitch like a true forward. Jacob Bauer, he's shown that he's got a little bit, but he's also got a little bit of hook on the kick and just slammed it out of bounds on the full from 52. And Port Adelaide will have the chance to reset right from deep in defence. And it's Bergman who can bring it back.
79 points the lead, still 5 to play here on ABC Sport. Bergman went very long with the exit, and Curvis sitting underneath it with Sweet, and off hands it rolls over the boundary line. Text line throughout the day and evening, 0437 774 774. If you're listening on DAB Plus in Melbourne, Hobart, Adelaide and Darwin, you'll be headed to weekend evenings. Everybody else, the Docklands up next, and Bailey Smith confirmed out for the Cats. Tossed in. Sweet taps it down. Once again with one arm reels it in. Managed to get it to Hopper. Steely Green uses Taranto. Back to Green. Then Hopper. Squeezes a kick out of there. Snapping towards Bauer. Knocked away. Knocked down towards Campbell. He has a crack from 30. Seth Campbell. 2 for the afternoon. Richmond's best first-year player in 2024. Following it up with a decent start to the season. Richmond get their 8th of the afternoon. 21-14, 140. Should say they're 9th. Richmond moved to 9-13, 67. Port Adelaide's lead down to 73 points on ABC Sport.
He's got something. This kid, he's really got something. Like you said, he won best first-year player last year and looks like he's about to take the next step. And although Richmond have been, comprehensively beaten today, we're still seeing something, aren't we?
Absolutely.
The second half, they've really changed it, and we're starting to see something. I like some of their players and what they're trying to do, and there is some hope there, isn't there? Aaron, you being a Richmond supporter, you'd be sitting like...
I was saying in the first half of the Carlton game that I really enjoyed what I'd seen, and it eventually ended up in this amazing upset, but it's the same today. You can see the foundations of the good team.
There's something there. They've got some really good talent out there.
Tigers at half-back. Aaron Bryans trying to be optimistic and positive after he's, watched Port Adelaide tear him to shreds today. Darcy Byrne-Jones has taken it at half-back, just delivers a little kick to Wines, shoots a handball out to Richards in front of the interchange gates. Wines punches it into the ground towards Rosie. His kick got Travis Boak. He's taken the mark at half-forward, shoots it back to Burgoyne. Still on the centre wing, broadcast side, decides to go right across the ground to Bergman. 50-metre kick, puts Bergman on the logo on the outer side. Here's a chance now for the skipper. And the kick goes up to half-forward. Mark not taken, Broad, game 150, just tries to hack a ball out. Up at half-back, another big punch comes from Traynor. Port Adelaide have still got it at the centre half forward area. Burne-Jones lays a tackle on Bauer. Handball over the top from Taranto, and Campbell will take the Tigers out.
Here's a surge from an ambush of Tigers. Campbell, little 1-2 with Short. Forward to Blood, who took a bounce. No one was near him, and it's bounced it over the boundary line.
They had 5 people running into an open goal in the big...
That's a disappointing error for a young star who's had a good day up until that moment. And it'll be a boundary throw in right half forward for Richmond. Dan Curvis wins it down after that brain fade from Blight. Trezise tried to get it towards Lawler. Dumping tackle on Rosie. Non-controlling umpire will pay it holding the ball. Free kick to the Rising Star. So Richmond will have it in front of the Bashir stand. Josh Money downstairs.
40 minutes and counting on the bench for Lachie Jones, who now has that left knee strapped. Let's hope he's not too serious. We've well documented his injury history, but certainly don't think we'll see him again today.
Lawler can't see through the sun. It's setting through the northern end. He kicks up towards Dow, knocked away from him by Berry. It'll be a boundary throw in front of the Wanganeen stand. Shout out to Maddie and Zach, who are listening in Switzerland on the ABC Listen app. I love listening to Port Adelaide win, Go the Power. And Phil from Victoria loving the call and feels like the Crows are the dark horse for 2025. 2-0. Never know, Phil.
Well, Phil's gone a little early as Darcy Burne-Jones runs it out of bounds. But geez, if you're a Crows fan and you've waited 7 years, you'd be very, very excited about what you've seen the past couple of weeks.
Well, the road record was the part that always let them down. And now they've won at the MCG. You can tick that box. And next week's North Melbourne. So
you said earlier, what was it, nearly 3,000 days since they'd won there back in
11 winless games at the G.
Ball's brought in. Sweet doing the ruck work against Nan Curvis. It's been a good battle. Jordan Sweet certainly can hold his head high. Handball comes out to Lawler. Little kick cut off by Wines. Rosie's had a great day. He's in a defensive 50. Clearing right footer. And Georgiades went early, and the mark has been taken for the Tigers. Georgiades getting involved again, but Miller, who was busy early on, just puts the ball back up to half forward, and Broad can't take it out of bounds. 60 out from the Tigers' goal.
Couple of questions through about why the Tigers superstars haven't touched the footy a lot, and generally it's the grand scheme of the game. Port Adelaide have doubled the possession count. They're 459, Richmond 288. Taranto's only had 15, Lawler's only had 8. Here is Tim Taranto off the boundary, throw-in gathers, and Burne-Jones was waiting to hit him with a tackle. Got the handball out. Lawler on the tight angle, misses everything. Trying to channel a bit of 2 + 2 = 4, Sam Lawler, but couldn't quite make it work. Free kick, Port Adelaide left back pocket. Currently leading by 73 points. Is a little concerning, Soda. Rosie's got 37, Wines 32, Burgoyne and Farrell 30, and the best for Richmond, Hopper with 23.
Yeah, Jack Ross with the 10 after he was terrific last week against Carlton. There he is, Travis Boak. He's got it at half back, and that's the crowd excited for the 393 games. 373 at AFL level, plus your 20 pre-season games. Takes him past the great Russell Ebert, who played 392. This kick, though, from Sin across the ground has been cut off. And Lawler again in the jumper made famous by former premiership star Barry Rawlings. And the kick just wobbles down in front of the scoreboard, out of bounds for the Tigers. But it's going to come back, and the free kick will go their way to Taranto. And we've heard it's been a lean day for the two-time best and fairest, one at each of his clubs, and he's going to have a chance to, well, maybe put a little bit of respectability on with a shot from goal from 50. So Taranto, right on the paint, goes low and hard. It's not going to make the distance, and Port smash it through for a behind. We've got 28 minutes gone. Port Adelaide lead by 72 points. 21 goals, 14-140. Richmond 9-14-68. Saturday footy on ABC Sport, and this has been a game to bounce back for Port.
If you're an experienced player in Taranto, you've probably got to kick 40 metres and make the distance.
Farrell in the defensive 50. Combines with Bergman, and now Richards at right half back. Squeezes a handball through 2 Tigers to Boak. Another faint roar. He links up with Sweet. Boak takes a bounce. Audacious with Tigers circling. Gets it to Richards. Then Rosie. They're just making it work. Port. Rosie forward to right half forward. It's a little long for Drew. Unkind bounce. He fumbles and falls over. Boundary throw in at right half forward to come. Port up by 72.
It's almost like he had the speed wobbles there without the speed, Willem Drew.
Too much space and time.
The throw in, 55 out from the Port goal. We're going to the southern end. It has been a huge response for them. Nan Curvis shoots out a little handball to Dow. Hopper, centre of the ground, looking for Ross. And he just keeps it in front. He's still in the centre square. Little chip over the top, looking for Campbell, and he's not paid the mark. Looked like he had it almost long enough. The umpire said no. Burgoyne has it. Shoots the handball out to Darcy Byrne-Jones. And he celebrates game number 201 with a big win for Port Adelaide. Down by 91 points to Collingwood last week. They're asking who's driving the car. Well, it's still Ken Hinkley, and he takes Port Adelaide to a 72-point win over Richmond in Travis Boak's record-breaking 393rd game for Port.
A perfect 10 from Port for their milestone man. They started hot and never looked back. Up by 33 at quarter time, 65 at the half, 81 at three-quarter time, and Richmond winning the final term 3-2. Left the margin at 72 points. 21-14, 140 to 9-14, 68. 3 goals to Rioli and Paupeppa, 4 to Georgiades, 2 to Burgoyne and Rosie, singles to Berry, Farrell, Wines, Horne-Francis, Evans, Byrne-Jones and Richards. Port 1-1 after thrashing the Tigers at home. It was the response Ken Hinkley's men needed to have. And Richmond, disappointing turnaround after a remarkable upset against the Blues. For the Tigers, 2 goals to Campbell and Armstrong. Singles to Lawler, McIntosh, Fawcett, Bauer and Blight. We're with you for another 20 minutes before we take you to the Docklands for the Saints and the Cats. We'll get some reaction from the power rooms and hear the song as well. If you want to get in touch, 0437 774 774 is the text line. Port Adelaide winners by 72 points. To break it all down for us, Premiership stars Dean Brogan and Ebony Marinoff on ABC Sport.
Well, great response. First half, Port Adelaide just a class above. They came ready to play, and as they should. A lot of pressure on them through the week. We know where Richmond are. They're in rebuilding phase. They had a great game last week and got the win, but it was always going to be a tough ask for them today. Look, what does that mean? I don't know. I don't know. I think Port's second half was pretty average, to be honest with you. They've only won the second half by 2 goals. Should that have been a 100-point win? Am I clutching here? I don't know. I think I'm expecting more. They were great. Rosie was fantastic. Burgoyne was good. Their outside players were really good. But I still didn't think they should have won that game by 90 points and really dominated the second half. I just felt like they didn't put the foot on the throat, so to speak, and the good teams
Ooh, they make you punish.
They bury. They really make a statement. But maybe I'm being a little bit harsh. I don't know. But look, great win, great response, Ebony. It's all you can ask is you perform like that in the first half. What are your thoughts, Ebs?
Yeah, absolutely. You touch on it. You sit here a little bit half cup full because you're not sure where they're actually at. Richmond come off the momentum of last week's win against Carlton. And what a win that was, but you almost sense that momentum. I tipped them, so I thought they were going to.
Richmond.
I tipped Richmond. I thought the momentum would live on, but I got a bit ahead of myself. They're so young and inexperienced, and I think that was something that really shone today. Darcy Byrne-Jones, Travis Spoke, these experienced players really stood up today and set the tone, I thought. But it was what impressed me most was Port Adelaide's handball game. Their handball chains. You can't really say too much because Richmond had not so much pressure. But to win the disposal count by 477 to 297, that is complete dominance from Port Adelaide today. But it's hard to say where they really sit. And in an undermanned forward line with Jack Lukosius going out, I really did like the way that Pau Pepper played. He had really good impact. And same with Jason Horne-Francis with 17 and 11 score involvement.
Rioli in there as well. The forward line smaller does look better, doesn't it? It really does. Even though Lukosius doesn't play tall,
more of a dynamic look.
Just having the smaller forward line, and we saw it last year when they went small forward line. It looks better. They get up the ground, they work hard, they get back.
Well, Richards has had 25 with 12 score involvement, so an impressive game. That's why they got him across. They said, hey, come play for us. We'll play you half full. We'll play you every game and you'll have complete impact. And that's what he's done today. So that's going to be an interesting one to watch, see how his season goes in the new colours. And we can see down here Richmond lining up to send Travis Bloke off. What a fine player. And his first half really set the tone. His second half was a little bit quieter, but to finish the game with 28 and 7 score involvements, he doesn't seem to be slowing down. I think he's going to hit the 400, isn't he?
We put it to the CEO, Matthew Richardson, on SA Grandstand this morning, and he seemed almost hesitant to commit to it, that surely you can manage him through the way that Scott Pendlebury's kind of getting the treatment where he can play a full game and then be the sub or play 3/4 and get subbed. And
well, the new coach will probably decide on that.
True. It's all in the hands of Josh Carr, isn't it?
They were brilliant on the outside today. They're like, if they can replicate that against the good sides, they'll be hard to beat on the outside.
I think if you look at
Travis Boak being chaired off the ground. He's got Sam Powell-Pepper on his left side and Ollie Wines on the right. Game 393. 373 AFL, 20 pre-season games. And a club great becomes an icon as he passes Russell Ebert for the all-time games played at Port Adelaide. A 3-time All-Australian showdown medalist as well, Travis Boak. Only chaired about 5 metres before he stopped to sign some Guernseys as part of member recognition round. And
that's what he does.
That's a testament to his character, isn't it? He's all about his values, his professionalism, loyal, committed. He's a good man, Travis Boak-Soda.
What he's also been able to do over the past 4 or 5 years, because his professionalism is unrivaled among so many players, is he goes overseas and he works with one of his sponsors in their area, and he's taken, remember a couple of years ago, he took Connor Rosie and he also took Zach Butters with him.
And Horne-Francis as well.
Yeah, Horne-Francis the year before last. So he's taken these players on, and every one of them that's come back has taken another step up. So in terms of providing some development in sport, support, he's playing a dual role as a player and essentially running a lot of the development. It is a remarkable position, and he is such a good bloke. He is almost too good to be true.
Well, that's why players like of his calibre, you let them make the call, because you can't buy that. You can't buy that. It's that professionalism and what he does for the other players at the club, and he's still getting it done. Like, he was in an annihilation. Just shows how bad that game was last week. We've sung Port's praises against a low side, and they haven't won by 91 points. Just shows how bad that game was last week. He was one of their best players. He fronted up and tried his guts out, and was walked off the oval with his head held high. He's backed it up again today. The 5-day turnaround might test him the Thursday night, but if he keeps playing like that, there's no reason why he can't get to 400, Aaron.
Port winners by 72 points. Let's head into the rooms with Josh Money.
What a difference a week makes. 91-point losers last week, 72-point winners this week. Travis Boak walks in side by side with Christian Moraes on debut. Game 1 for him. Game 393 officially for Travis Boak, and certainly a relieved feeling in these rooms, and a big win for Port. Obviously, sterner tests are coming their way, but can only beat what's in front of you, and they square the ledger. Ken Hinkley walked in beside Josh Carr. So much talk around the succession plan, and I'm sure that talk will continue in the weeks and months to come, but a big win today. There's a selection of Powerades and Gatorades in the middle, and a lot of first-time winners for Port Adelaide. Joe Richards in there, Joe Berry, Christian Moraes on debut. No Jack Lukosius, unfortunately, after he went off with an injury, but certainly a lot of newcomers in this song, and it will be sung with a fair amount of gusto.
The power to win, the power to rule. Come on, Port Adelaide aggression. We are the power from Port. It's more than a sport, it's a true Port Adelaide tradition. We're going to stop, to it, stop. History young power. We're going to win. Never give in. The flag is ours, so we take power.
A big win for Port on a big day for Travis Boak. We'll catch up with the milestone man shortly.
Very tame rendition of the song, maybe not getting ahead of themselves after last week's big loss, but it is a historic day for the Power. So winners by 72 points. It is their third biggest victory over Richmond in history, their third biggest score against Richmond in history, and it is the third biggest loss that Adam Uze has suffered in his tenure as senior coach against the Tigers. St Kilda and Geelong still to come your way on ABC Sport. We'll take you to the Docklands in about 15 minutes' time. A couple of texts coming through. Daniel from Mount Barker says Port has to learn to play 4 strong quarters. Their second half could have been better. Brett in Canberra, thanks for the call. Port Adelaide are like Swans. They lack a strong forward line and their backs, but have a great midfield. So Brett comparing them to the Sydney side that currently is winless, but do play Fremantle tomorrow. That'll close out the round, and we'll get you there 5:45 Eastern Daylight Time as part of our Sunday coverage for Fremantle and Sydney. And we kind of floated that, Ebony and Dean, that all Port Adelaide can do is beat the team in front of them, and at the end of the day, even if it is a potential bottom 4 side, it is what it is. But did it answer some of the questions around effort, intensity? Because that was the biggest downfall of last week.
Well, the worst thing they could have done is come out and only just won and not show any of that. They didn't do that. They came out with a lot of energy. They came out with their A game, with their handball game, with their they were really good in the contest, but when they got the ball on the outside, they looked slick with their ball movement, and everyone got on the end of it. It was a bit of a day out for them, but they did what they had to do for the first half. I am a little bit disappointed it didn't keep going. It's hard to do over 4 quarters, but second half, I thought Richmond, they won a lot of the statistics, and if Richmond were a little bit better, they probably would have got that to 50 to 60 points, maybe even a little bit lower, if they were a little bit cleaner going forward, and then that takes the shine off the game, and we're not talking about it. But if you're a serious football club, you should win that by 100 points. That's just the way we look at it, and that's what we expect out of Port Adelaide. They're a good football team. But we did see something today, and on the back of that, you go into next week or Thursday night feeling pretty good about yourself, and you've had most of the players have all touched the footy a lot, so your game's up and running, and that's all you need to get your season away. You need a soft win sometimes to feel good about yourself, and that's what they got today, and time will only tell. In the next month, you'll really know what Port Adelaide are at.
Well, it's hard to tell because you've had 2 players from Port Adelaide not have below 15, and you've had 6 players in Richmond have above 15. So a telling story of just where the disposals lied. And I think that's why we probably sit here a little bit, where does that game sit? Because the complete dominance was from Port Adelaide's ball movement when Richmond had no pressure on. But when Richmond were able to get their hands on the footy and bring it forward, I thought Armstrong's second half was brilliant. And they actually had someone to present to in the forward half. So it probably sit here as a disappointing second half for Port Adelaide because they didn't put the foot down.
Just looking at Richmond for the moment, when you see that performance last week when they come back from 41 points down, and we know that they've turned a lot of the list over and they've got this young talent, and we've seen, as you mentioned there, Eb, Harry Armstrong was good in that second half. We've seen Bauer stand up and show a bit blight. There's Trainer, we saw Fawcett on debut. You look at all these guys, and then you know that it's going to come with Lawler. And then you get last week and you sort of get a little tease and think, oh, hang on, it's coming here. And then bang, you get a hit back again to know, look, it's going to take time. It's tough if you're a Richmond fan in that situation.
Yeah, it is, and that's the brutality of the AFL, isn't it? Like one week you're world beaters and the next week you are you look like a bottom four side. And look, it just shows that on any day, any team that's up and about and shows energy and effort, you get them on the right night, you're going to get done. And that Richmond side, they showed a bit in the second half that if you take them lightly on their day, they'll get you. And they've got some really good talent. They've got good speed around the footy, and they still had 23 shots on goal. They kicked 9 goals, 14. Like that. That's a competitive score total in having 23 shots. Now, they just got burned on the outside. They just could not go with Port Adelaide on the outside. Their contest work was good. They defended, I thought, at times pretty well in their back 50. They held up pretty well with all the inside 50s, but they just got done on uncontested ball. And with a young team, that typically happens. But there's a lot to like there for Richmond, and it's not going to be as bad as what people said it might be this year. So that's a positive for them, and it's this season's going to be interesting. I think the Port Adelaide side of things. We're just going to have to wait and see. Give it another few weeks. They're going to play a pretty hot team in Thursday night in Essendon, who have been embarrassed today. They'll have all the heat on them this week. They will come out steaming Thursday night, and Port Adelaide go back to Melbourne, where it wasn't too kind for them last week. How bad was that loss? 91 points. Like, we're just saying how bad.
You're still shell-shocked from it, aren't you?
That was the total, for a half. It was an annihilation. Port win easy, but it wasn't 91 points. That was wild.
It was
last
uncharacteristic.
Week. It was,
yeah.
Just don't see that. But look, they're up and about. Their injuries. Lukosius doesn't look good. And Jones doesn't look good.
And as Josh mentioned, Ollie Lord injured in the Sanford trial game, so there's not a lot of options to come in. Although if
Sava
Radicale got 3, he probably can come back in.
He's not going to change. To set the world on fire. He's a good role player.
Thatcher's still out for another.
Thatcher's still out. Butter's still out.
It's a bad problem to have, but a good time for it. They've got St Kilda. Obviously, you mentioned Essendon. So Essendon, St Kilda, and then gather round with Hawthorn, which is a big game. So you get through the next fortnight, 3-1, and that gather round match suddenly shapes your season.
You're thereabouts, aren't you? If you can get to 3-1 and not be playing the best footy, and you've had a 90-point loss like that, that's going okay. And we're all potting them sort of still, aren't we? Really? Like, I'm still not happy. I still won't be happy with them, but they're around the mark. They're around the mark. They just got to win the games they should, and get a scalp here and there, and you could find yourself. They could find themselves in a lot better position than what we thought. Yeah,
Brooks, the important thing is that Aaron and I have been speaking off air, and we've discovered that we need to organise some counselling for you so you can get over that 91-point loss, because you just cannot let it go, even with a 72-point win now.
Bad today.
Port winners by 72 points, an emphatic response after last week's poor start. 21-14, 140 to 9-14-68. And it was a perfect celebration for the milestone man, Travis Boak, passing Russell Ebert for the most games played at Port Adelaide. And we've got him downstairs. Let's head into the rooms with Josh Money.
Couldn't have gone much better for Travis Boak today. Trav, must be a big relief to get the big win after the week you had last week, but also on such a big personal day for you as well.
Yeah, look, I'm proud of the way the boys responded. It was certainly a challenging first couple of days of the week, but I think proud of the way they were vulnerable and we owned up to what wasn't good enough, and I think that's what makes good sides, and we have to respond, and we did that today, and I thought we started really well, which was the key, and our pressure was back to where it needed to be.
You talked during the week about how you'd reflect on this moment when it's all said and done. How about when you're out there today? Did you feel the emotion of the day with the Eberts here and everything that's been said and done throughout the week?
Yeah, it's a tricky one because it is such a special moment, but also coming off a bad loss, you just want to worry about the game and play footy and win. But I certainly, there was some moments there, the crowd were amazing, and the boys were trying to get me a goal at the end as well, so it was pretty cool, but it is special. I mean, Russ has been an amazing person for this football club for a long period of time. He's certainly impacted so many people in on and off the field, and yeah, it's a great honour to be even in the same sentence as a great man.
You're not captain anymore, but do you have a word with Mitch Georgiades? Surely he should have handed off to you in that final quarter.
He said as soon as he fell on the ground after he kicked and he saw it was me, he was devastated. So I took his apology, but no, I don't want a cheap goal. I'd rather him kick 4.
Here's Dean Brogan and Ebony Marinoff.
Bokey, mate, congratulations, buddy.
Thank you, brother.
Unbelievable, mate. Port's greatest games played. Can't express how proud we are and I am of you, mate. So congratulations, mate. We watched you last week, and I thought you were one of the best players on the ground. Today, your first half was as good as I've seen you play. What keeps you turning up every week? Not from a physical point of view, Brokey, but the mental aspect of the game.
Yeah, I mean, Brogo, I appreciate the words, mate. I love you. I think, and I sort of spoke about it during the week, and it's probably something that I've had to work a lot on, and that's why am I still playing? What's my purpose of still playing? And I think that has changed a little bit. It certainly has changed since 10 years ago, since 5 years ago, and that's what keeps me coming back. And right now, my purpose is around helping others get better and wanting to compete still, and certainly try and show up and regardless of my age, keep going after what I want, and that's to compete and win and hopefully lead this club to a flag, and that's why I sort of just still love playing. I love the game, and my teammates, mate, are just so, as you know, this club's special, and everyone who comes in is a special person. I love the boys, so that's why I keep trying to turn up.
Loki, congratulations, an amazing effort, and God, you look like you're in somewhat career best form. An amazing day for yourself and your family.
Thank you.
You talk about having the impact on the younger players. We saw Sam Pepper chair you off. What impact did you have on his career? I've heard a lot throughout his journey, but it seems like you touched him a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Pep's also helped me so much along the journey as well, and I just tried to support him. He had some challenges, certainly. Early on, he was trying to find his feet as a footballer and as a person, and it's never easy coming interstate and sort of just jumping straight into footy as a young person, and the challenges he's had, but the love he has for the people of the footy club for me. And I shared the story of the first time he met my mum. He sort of jumped off the couch and run to the front door and gave her a massive hug, and that's just the person he is. He's got so much love for so many people, and he's helped me just as much as I've helped him as well.
Travis, a lot of people have asked you through the week about what this milestone game means to you, but I think the comparison with Russell is probably the best, and you described him as human being first, athlete second, and I feel like that's a value that you encapsulate as well. Do you feel like you see a lot of Russ in how you behave as a footballer? Yeah, I mean, I certainly try to. I think, when you walk into the footy club, when Russ was around the place, you sort of understood the aura that he had, and everyone sort of learnt a lot off him, and that was just about being a good person. He was such a big influence and impact in the community, and then we all know what he did on the field, but the way, I remember going out into community camps and everyone just said, we love Russ, and I think that's just the impact he had on everyone, and that's what we tried to now implement, and that's because of Russ in the footy club, is we've just got to be good people, and the footy comes off the back of that. We love playing footy, but it's just what we do, and how we act around the place and the community is what we need to do first. Tell you what, it can be hard to love footy when you've suffered a 91-point loss, and the noise of affirmation in a two-team town can be extraordinary. How did the group tackle the week when it was so deafening, the opinions that were thrown around after your disappointing loss?
Look, I think we understand it's part of football, and there's no doubt the media space is getting bigger and bigger. There's so many bloody footy shows at the moment. Everyone's got an opinion, but that's just part of it. And whether someone talks good about you or someone talks bad about you, it's got nothing to do with you, and it's just an opinion. So we understand that last week, based on our expectations, wasn't how we wanted to show up, and we had to get back to what we do best, and that's our pressure game, and that's really all we focused on.
You look good today, Travis. Congratulations on the milestone. Thanks for your time, and best of luck on Thursday.
Well done, Bokey.
Thank you very much.
Great to have Travis Boak. So 393 professional games for the Port Adelaide Footy Club. Passes Russell Ebert, who's deemed God at Alberton. Travis Boak is the icon of the footy club in his 19th season. Now elevates himself to another incredible accolade. And also, in terms of AFL games, 373, moves into 11th all-time, passing Adam Goods.
Just quickly with Bokey, he gets to the game 3 hours before the start, so he's the first one there. He never gets on the team bus because he gets there early.
How does he get there? Sorry, I have to ask.
He gets one of the trainers drives him, or he even gets a taxi. He preps himself an hour and a half with all these little switch on. He's been doing that 390 something times. That is like just incredible. And I talk about the mental side of the game. I knew I was done because I couldn't be bothered warming up anymore. He is just a freak. He just everything. Talk about legacy. That kid is going to leave some sort of legacy at that footy club, and couldn't be more proud of him. And he's still getting it done.
We are fast running out of time. 3, 2 and 1 in the ABC Footballer of the Year.
Rosie, 3 votes. He was clearly best player on the ground. I thought Burgon was sensational. And I'm going to give Boki 1. His first half, it was just set the tone, and he gets it. He gets a vote from me.
Dominant day for Port Adelaide, winners by 72 points. 21-14, 140 to Richmond's 9-14, 68 in front of 37,342. Were 4 goals to Mitch Georgiades, 3 to Pal Pepper and Rioli, 2 to Burgoyne and Rosie, and singles to Berry, his first in the AFL. Farrell, Wines, Horn Francis, Evans, Burn-Jones and Richards. Soto, congrats on your debut. Good calling with you.
Great game to watch, Boki, wasn't it? Just with that sort of situation. And to see, look, there's a couple of nice little flickers of hope for Richmond, but nice to see Port Adelaide bounce back, and hopefully the Tigers will continue to evolve as a team.
Ebbs, great calling as always.
Good job. Well, let's see how they go next week. I'm intrigued if they're back.
Brogues will hear your opinion next Saturday on SA Grandstand, but
I'll be a
no
lot
longer
better
a
than what
bottom
it was
four side.
today. bit rusty today. Sorry, Emily. I mean, Ebony. But it was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me. Can't wait to do it all again.
Big thanks to Craig back in the studio, to Paul Ardek and Josh Money downstairs. You are headed to the Docklands next. St Kilda and Geelong with Matt Clinch, Lauren Borden, Brent Harvey and Nathan Burke. One late change, Bailey Smith out with his calf injury, so Ted Closey is in and the sub, and Hugo Garcia the sub for the Saints. Stay with us as we wrap up this Saturday triple header on ABC Sport. It's the Saints and the Cats.